Real Enigmas and Theories is back again with another live stream. What's going on, everybody? What's going on out there? Can y'all hear me? Is the sound good? Okay. What we working with here, y'all? Yes, indeed. You're welcome, Beverly. You're welcome, Beverly. How's everybody doing out there? We got Beverly Jackson in the building. We got Del Senior in the building. We got Puerto Rican in the building. Pagan Sky. Carrie. Yes, indeed. We got Chocolate Beauty in the building. Rainbows in the building. Sophie L is in the building. Yes, Gardenia Blossoms. Okay. Who else? We got Miss C in the building. We got Nisha in the building. Brandon says he finally caught her live. Yes, indeed. Debbie's in the building. Yes. Let's go, y'all. Let's go. Let's get to it. Hold on. I'm about to send my brother the link real quick. Let me get this link to him. Okay, we got Golden Child in the building. Horror fans in the building. Yes, bank runs in the building. Okay. So it's tightening up in here real quick. I'm waiting on Taran to come in and we'll get started. How's everybody's week doing? How's the weekend going so far for everybody? Is everybody feeling nice out there? Saturday Night Live? Van life by the river, but at least I got y'all. Oh, van life by the river sounds nice. Yes, indeed. Yes, quick announcement to all my mods. I'd like to have a meeting with you guys. If you could reach out to me at my email, real enigmas and theories at gmail.com. And I'd like to see if we can all get on the same page and set up a meeting, just to talk about that wrench and, what we're doing with it. Okay. Blue Cassius is in the building. Oh, well, Beverly, my weekend is going fine. We made it through the week. We're here. This is the highlight of my week, sitting with you guys talking about my favorite show. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Please like the stream on your way in. Let's get this. Let's get these numbers up. Let's spread it throughout the YouTube universe so that everybody knows we're here and we're convening and we're here to have a great discussion. Okay. Here's Taran. I'm gonna bring Taran up.
Hey, man.
Can you see everything fine?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear.
Yes.
Is the quality good?
Shout out to Dana Marie and Scarlett for turning me on to the StreamYard and making me see that it would be better for the time being. I'm still gonna hop back on OBS, guys, but for now, we'll use StreamYard. It's a lot easier. It's a lot more user friendly. Um, as you can see, it looks better, and we can also, highlight the chat and do all of those great things that we do here. You know, we're gonna have a call in later on. We're gonna get the call in number and put up for people that want to call in and join in on the discussion. Bitey is in the building. Jandra is in the building. Yes. Okay. Okay. So you said I sound more clear than usual. That's good. That's good. Okay. So let's get into it. I'm gonna talk with Taran for a little while, so I won't be paying that much attention to the chat. However, while he's talking, I will be jumping in there and watching what's going on in the chat as well. From Enthusiast, good to see you in here.
Can
Yes.
everyone hear me okay?
Can everyone hear Taran? Let me see if I can bring your mic volume up.
Okay, people saying they can hear.
Okay, good. I brought the mic volume up a little bit. You should be good. So, is there anything new that jumped out to you in this trailer so far, Taran?
You know, it was interesting when you were talking to me today about the timeline of events and the clothing people are wearing, which kind of lets you know when each scene in the trailer happens. And you kind of have to follow Boyd's clothing, particularly, and the stains on his clothing. And I thought that was quite an interesting thing that you did. And I think I saw a YouTube video that I haven't watched yet, where somebody tried to splice the trailer up in chronological order of what they think happens. And I think that's quite a clever way of looking at it.
Yes, I did see that video as well. I didn't get a chance to look at it. I'm not sure what the guy came up with. However, I do notice certain things about the trailer, and we can put that up. We can play the trailer. You don't mind if I play the trailer while
No.
we cook? I'll mute it and everything. Hold on, let's see. And there's just certain things about this trailer that it kind of gives you the goods on what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I remember you were saying that you thought it was Fatima in the barn. Now, I think that it's Mrs. Lou in the barn being tortured. Here's my series of events. Boyd and Jay walking away from the barn, and as you can see, the barn door is like wide open. So something happened there, and the barn sits out by itself. You know, away from all the other buildings. Like it's like the first thing you come to when you drive down the road. And so they wouldn't be coming from anywhere else but the barn if they're coming from this way. And we see they're coming from the barn. We see they have the body. And we also see that the tarp that he puts over the body is what he uses to carry the body. It's the same tarp. Again, we also found this little piece of clothing right here sticking out. I think they did this on purpose to let us know who it was, to kind of give us a clue. or to at least get us to theorize who it was. And so I think that this is Miss Lou, and I think that that is how that happened. Now, the blood on Boyd's shirt, I believe that one. Now, here's a prediction. I think that literally one of the slow walkers gets their hands bloody and wipes it on his shirt. We also see in the trailer the part where he's struggling. Um, that's where we see the slow walker tear into his shoulder, right up on this part right here. Oh yeah, there was a good shot of the blood. And we see the blood splatter and everything.
Yeah,
It's a
you
real
see it.
gnarly shot right
Yeah,
here.
you see it spurt. Yeah, there you go. Look
Look at
right
the
there.
blood
Yeah,
splattering. And like
and that was
tore a
clean. That
nice
was
chunk
clean.
out of his arm.
And that shirt is clean, right? That is 100% clean. There is no
Right.
other blood on this shirt.
Right. So there's no other blood on the shirt. So all of that had to happen from that ordeal. Now, when he's talking to Donna, it's like the next morning after the ambush, and his shirt is a little bloody, but it you could tell that it's from the same wear and tear, same blood stains on the shirt. It's just that some of the chunks have kind of fallen off, right? And this leads me to my other theory about it not being Fatima in the barn, is because I think Fatima, when we see her with the blood in her mouth, I think that might be the same night all of the chaos is going on in Frumlin with the whole ambush
Well,
during
doesn't she
air.
lose? Doesn't she spit a tooth out
Mhm.
into the sink?
She spit something in the sink for sure.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure it's a tooth.
for whatever reason, they made this trailer very low quality, and it's like very
Yeah,
difficult to
seven. It's 780p or whatever it is instead
y-
of 1080.
yeah, which is crazy low resolution
Yeah,
for zooming in and checking things out. Like even here, like over here, you can see like a little bit of the gradient on the wall. It's just, low quality. I wonder if they did that because they know people are tuned in. Now, I want to say this about the first two trailers for season 1 and season 2. And I'm gonna drop a bomb on us too about that. And I know you can help me out with that too, Taran. Um the first two trailers for season 1 and season 2 didn't give you a lot of clues like this one. That the first
I
they were
agree.
kind
I agree. This one
they kind of
teases us a lot more.
right. This one teases us a lot more with the clues and the mystery, and it gives us a lot more to work with as far as getting your brain working. The first two trailers kind of focused on the horror aspect of the show, and kind of reeled people in with that. So now that we're seeing more clues like the Puritans and things of that nature that they're showing us in the show now. It's
It's a
kind of
hundred
apparent,
percent Puritans. That's it. Like,
right?
there's
It's
definitely
kind
a Puritan component. It's
right,
undeniable, I think.
right. It's pretty much undeniable, especially like theorists like you and myself have been talking about this thing having to do with American history.
Combined with the hat is just, you know, you just can't deny it. That's a Puritan right there. So anyone who has an alien theory or a simulation theory, you got to put Puritans into that theory somehow. You got to square that circle.
Right. And right now, what's happening is the alien theory's hanging on by a ramen noodle. Like
I
it's really
mean, I think people who have an alien theory, they're gonna have to integrate time travel very, very heavily into their alien theory very soon. So anyone who's out there who has an alien theory, I think me and Real, we're pretty much convinced at this point, aren't we, that there's gonna be time travel and we're gonna meet historical figures, right?
right. I think that there's
Mhm.
definitely going to be time travel. I think now, as far as the showing of historical figures in the time travel, I'm thinking that it'll be more symbology like we've been seeing so far thus far. I think the symbology will get stronger and
What about
stronger and
Nathan
stronger.
Forrest? Nathan Forrest. You feel pretty strongly about Nathan Forrest appearing as a character, right?
I don't know if he will appear as a
Hmm.
character. However, they will definitely mention or they're definitely speaking on the Fort Pillow massacre. I'm certain on that. That's
Okay, so
another date
you're
on the
not
tower as
convinced.
well.
You're
Come
not
again?
convinced that real historical figures will appear.
Okay, so I feel like they have already in certain ways. Like
Okay.
Ben Franklin is definitely apparent in the show. This is
Yes.
why
Okay.
Boyd's at the post office. This is why you know you see his organizational skills. That's the same. That's a Ben Franklin archetype right there. Ben Franklin pretty much revolutionized the postal service, and he came in and he was Mr.
Yes.
Fish and Loaves of the postal service, and he was
Hmm.
made the first postmaster general in America.
I
So,
agree with you. Ben Franklin is 100% going to feature. They even have the kite in Megan's room, in the
mhm,
background. And
right, the
obviously, Ben
kites.
Franklin, he's associated with the kite. If you look at kites and you study kite history, kite mythology, kite traditions, there's
Mhm.
very few connections to kites outside of Ben Franklin and a few sort of Middle Eastern, South Asian traditions.
The key
Uh,
as well, the key and the kite.
yeah, that
Bo Boyd's boat key.
uh, tell me about keys and Ben Franklin. Did he invent keys of some kind or something?
Okay, so a key was wrapped on the string of the kite.
Was it really?
Yes, in order to harness the electricity.
That's really interesting. Okay, thank you
Yes,
very much for telling me that. I didn't know that at all. That's
yes,
very
so
interesting. Thank you.
yeah, it was the metal piece that he needed to be the conductor for the electricity,
Wow,
and he
that is absolutely fascinating. I'm going to look into that because, I've been looking at a series of artifacts that I believe are passed across time. I think that's
mhm,
a huge component of the show actually, is like objects that like change over time.
mhm,
Like the skull, for example, I think that there's a skull that is passed across time, as well, and it ends up being Lord Byron's skull drinking bowl in my theory.
mhm.
Um, but I think I've been looking at keys and seeing whether keys feature in this mythology, and I haven't found much. But you telling me about Ben Franklin using a key is very interesting to me, and I'm going
I'm
to look into that
almost
more.
certain of that.
Hmm.
If anybody is, the kite and the key, if anybody knows about that, the kite and the key experiment. Ben Franklin's kite and key experiment is said to have taken place during the lightning
Mm,
storm in June 1752, when Franklin attached the
mm.
metal key to the kite string to see if it would attract an electrical charge. So yeah, I was right about that. I
You're
remember that for
absolutely
sure.
right.
Yeah. And so
That's very
Boyd,
cool, man.
right. So Boyd also has the key. Benjamin Franklin was a prominent resident in Philadelphia at the time of the commissioning
Mm.
for the Liberty Bell.
You see, this is why I enjoy talking with Real, and we don't like sometimes we'll be having a conversation on WhatsApp, like voice call, and I'll be like, why aren't we on live talking about this? Because this is interesting stuff. I'm always learning interesting historical facts from Real because Real, you're an American, so you just know this stuff. I have to study this to learn about this stuff. I didn't learn almost any American history at school, so all of this I'm learning from scratch. All the American history I've been learning is because of From. So thank you, From creators, for forcing me to learn about American history because it's actually super interesting.
Yes, indeed,
And
and
thank
thank
you,
you for
Real.
that. And thank you for that. Like, when we have these conversations, it just opens up uh more to the story. And if anybody was doubting, oh, okay, I want to say this first. If anybody
Mm,
was doubting that this is about that these people are being brought here, they're not just random travelers. I remember Tony and I during the debate where Tony was citing that these people are just like random travelers, and I was
Hmm.
saying that no, these people are connected to this place. I referenced Bhakta and her grandmother knowing the poem, which I'm pretty sure is exclusive to Fromlin.
Yeah,
Um,
of
we
course it is, of
we
course it
talked
is.
about Elgin having the dream, the seizures. Also,
And how many people mention their grandparents on this show? Like,
right, and
seriously, have you
yeah,
seen 24 watch Lost? How many of these characters talk about their grandparents on the show? So few of them. And yet you got Tilly mentioning grandkids, we got Baxter mentioning her grandma, you got Jim and uh, Tabitha
Tabitha's
mentioning their
their
parents, you got
parents.
Ethan mentioning his granddad, you got
Mhm.
Jade mentioning his grandma, like so many
Julie said
people.
Julie said that that the first people she would contact if she came back would be her grandparents.
Oh my God, is that true?
Yes,
Oh my God,
Fatima. Remember when she was making the list and Fatima asked her who would
grandparents.
she see first? She said her grandparents.
You see, I keep learning stuff from you, Real. That you see, that's just further proof. There are so many people referencing their grandparents. This is clearly, and then Real, please tell everyone about the bloodline connection.
Right. So the bloodline connection
The hand
is
on the tree.
the hand on the tree. Okay, so the scene where Jim and Jade are trying to get a signal out of the tree to get high in the tree, he literally says, "My line is caught." He doesn't say the cord is caught. He says, "My line is caught." And he says, "My line." And then he says, "Can you shake it free?" Now, there is, I did some research on the word shake, and it has something to do with family and family tree. I'm going to do that research again. I forgot about, I forgot where I left off with that information, but I'm coming back with that. But Jade then gets up and puts his hand on the tree, and then we see the blood. Then we
Running
also,
right down over his hand.
right, going right down over his hand. And not only that, trees also represent family, like it's in family tree.
Yes, and you see the blood, and the
Mhm.
line intermingling, right? Isn't the line still hanging there beside his hand?
Yes.
And doesn't the
Yes.
blood run down it?
And you see the bloodline. And he puts his
Mm-hmm.
hand on the tree, and that's when Jade begins to have the vision. And that vision is not extinguished until Jim puts his hand on Jade's chest, which makes the
Yes.
which totally stops the whole like hallucination or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can
And
I
that's when
also? Oh, sorry. Go
and
ahead.
Jade tells Jim, "Hey, get your hands off me. Get stop touching me."
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he's like freaked out. And so yeah,
Can I?
that
Can
is
I
a definite
support this?
connection.
Can I support this with something else? There
Mhm.
is a phrase that Kenny uses twice on the show. The fact that he mentions it twice clearly means that the showrunners are trying to suggest, hey guys, here's a clue. And that phrase is, denial is a major branch of our
Of our
family tree.
family tree. And he
And then
says
he,
that to Christy twice. He said, "I
yes,
told you that denial is a major
um,
branch of our
uh,
family tree."
he says,
Yes,
like I
he does.
said, denial is a major part of our family tree. So he repeats it twice. That is a reference to a family tree. I also think the word major and branch are also clues on the show, um, referencing a silver branch that is also passed across time. And major, I think, is a clue to a historical figure who went by the name of Major Atom, who was a little person in P.T. Barnum's circus. And I think that we'll be meeting a whole bunch of the freaks, as they were known at the time, um, and wonders, um, as they were also known at the time, um, on the show. Like, we'll literally see a bearded woman on the show. We'll literally see a baby elephant called Columbia on the show.
That would
Um,
be crazy, yo.
that I'm pretty certain about this. That's one of the things that's interesting about my theory is that, like, I feel like I'll be proven that I've got a lot of stuff right pretty soon.
Mhm.
because there's so many historical figures that I think are going to show up that, like, I think at some point this season, at least a couple of them are going to show up. If there's no historical figures in season three, I'm going to start thinking I might have lost the plot a little bit, because I'm so certain so
Well,
many of these
okay, so
historical
but
figures will show up.
what if they don't show up, right?
Hmm.
However, you still see, like, more clues to them, and there are more apparent clues to these things. How would you feel then?
I
'Cause
think,
and I'll say why I'm asking this question is because I think that you and I's theories will, in hindsight, be looked at as the hidden meaning to From.
hmm, potentially. I wonder sometimes if they're leaving clues that they will only resolve if they get enough seasons. Sometimes I worry about that. But
Okay,
I do think that we'll see time travel and historical figures for sure. I just wonder whether they're going to do a massive montage of them, where they're not even going to name them, you're not even going to meet them, you're just going to sort of see them
you're gonna see
in a
them. Yeah,
in a flashback,
yeah. I
and
think that
and
will happen. I think there'll be like a montage of you're gonna see the settlers coming in. You're gonna see the like blankets with the smallpox. You'll see the Indians, Native Americans. You'll see pilgrims. You'll see slavery. You'll
hmm
see
hmm
Jim Crow. You'll see the civil rights movement. You'll see all of
yeah,
these different things in a montage, and I think they'll do it in a montage. And my prediction is I don't think they're gonna do it in season 3, but I
hmm
definitely now it would be very interesting if Kenny and Jim get to that new little village over there and somebody has some
yeah.
real serious fucking information for why they're there.
Well,
Now,
I can tell you, I think there are four options for what this little village is. Four. Okay.
okay.
It's so because you can see the hoodoo dolls, it has to be after 1864 timeline. And that's because Caroline Tracy Dye
Mhm.
lived in that time period. And I am certain that she is the one behind the hoodoo on this show. So,
Okay, so I'm twisting between Caroline Dye. Now,
mhm,
Caroline Dye is somebody that in the South, if your grandparents know about her or speak about her, it has been your family will say something like, "Oh, you are related to her." You know what I'm saying? My grandmother used to say that. Now,
mhm,
now here's the thing. I think that it's between Caroline Dye and Tituba. I think it's
interesting.
I think it's between those two. Um, Tituba was actually a slave of the Puritans. She had Puritan
Hmm.
owners, and she
Hmm.
practiced, and she was originally from Colombia, which where the
Is that
character
right?
Tabitha is from.
Hmm.
Yes.
It's interesting because I read that she was thought to be from the Taino people who were wiped out by Columbus. Um,
Okay.
so
So
maybe
nah,
shall
she
we do
was
a bit of live
born.
research?
Yeah, so she was born in Colombia, and then she was taken from Colombia somewhere else, and then she was
Hmm.
purchased. Somebody purchased her and brought her to the United States.
Wow,
And
that's very interesting.
along the way, she learned hoodoo. She learned hoodoo and
Mm.
she practiced
Hmm.
voodoo along the way. And when she got to America, she would tell she was like a servant and she would watch the children and stuff, and she
Hmm.
would tell them stories about these things, and the children would have nightmares, and that's how it all started. That's how, they started accusing her of being a witch, two little girls.
That is
Then,
interesting. I
yeah,
am
she
seeing
stood
stuff
in the
right now.
center of the whole Salem witch trials controversy
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
watched she pretty much snitched on everybody that got killed, whether they were burnt to the stake, whether they were hung or they died in custody. She pretty much snitched on all of them. So yeah, that's a witch right there. Even the men. She was the one that was implicating the people and then they were in trouble. So that
Okay, so
Mhm.
I think that you've just blown my theory of the potentially being four wide open, with that connection of Hoodoo to Tatuba, because I do believe that Tatuba will be a character on the show. In fact, I'm certain of it. Um, sorry, it was the Arawak people from the West Indies that she was said
pardon
to
me,
be
I'm
from.
over here. We both on some Fatima's gas pack, I assuming.
um, we have we have her coming from the West Indies or the Arawak peoples, apparently, in one
Mhm.
version of her background, and I guess Colombia for another one. And the Arawak people were one of the peoples that Christopher Columbus wiped out by
Man in
having like
Black. Oh,
serious
my fault.
genocide.
My fault. Not to cut your wisdom. Man in Black. Thank you for the super chat. The $2 super chat. He says, "What's up with the people bleeding from the eye?" That symbolism is very prominent in throughout the show.
I have theories. I have many theories on this.
We'll get on that. And we'll get on that. But I want you to finish what you were saying. I just wanted to go ahead and shout the brother out for the uh super chat.
Hmm.
It's much appreciated, definitely.
So if Tituba is involved with hoodoo or potentially voodoo on the show, because I'm just googling it now, it was said that she could be doing both, one or the other, because the history about around her is so unknown. Um, but either way, I think if Caroline Dye is on the show, then that means it can only be the 1880s timeline, where those are the remains of her dolls, or the 1930s, where those are the remains of her dolls. But I think the 1930s, they'd have fallen apart a lot more by then because they are just made of wood. So potentially what we're looking at is 1880s or 1860s. So Kenny and Jade have time traveled to the 1860s or the 1880s. That's what I think. The only other alternative is that they visited a Canadian town, but I actually think that's going to come much later on the show, like season five. So I think they're going to focus on time travel to begin with before you see the Canadian version of all this.
Okay. So since we were talking about the script and like certain lines that were
Mm-hmm.
being said in the show. Now, if anybody ever doubted that these people were like, I want to go back to what I was saying about Tony and I's disagreement about people being actually brought to this place. Is there any lines in the show, first or second season, where one of the characters, Christy or Donna or Fatima or Tabitha, any one of the characters says, "We didn't come here, we were brought here"? Is that line anywhere in the show? Are you able to look that up while we're on the vibe?
Yeah, so we discussed this reel on WhatsApp. I'm not sure if you remember, but I searched for every single time that the word brought is included in the script, and because I have the whole scripts of season one and season two all in one document, and then I command F and I search it for keywords. That's probably the main way of solving from. It is using the script and finding words that are used repeatedly through the dialogue mostly, and the lyrics of songs and things like that. And anyway, I looked at every instance of the word brought, and that phrase that you said to me does not appear once in the actual show itself. That line is exclusive to a trailer from season one. It's a
Yes, the
voiceover
season
from
one
Tabitha.
trailer.
It's a voiceover
So
from Tabitha.
so here's the season one trailer. Okay. And in this season one trailer, guys, this is in there. I don't know if you can hear that. Can you guys hear that?
I can't hear anything. Sorry,
Hmm.
real. I don't think people can hear it.
I can't hear it either. Hold on, let's see. It says that the sound is off. Okay, here we are.
We really can't hear it real, unfortunately. I can
Wow.
hear like a little bit of a sound, but not enough to make anything out.
Okay.
It's
Let
very
me
faint.
see why. I wonder why. Uh,
I
let's
think
do
I can hear what
audio.
everyone else can hear, but I can give you like live updates. So I'll just tell you what I can hear.
Okay, I'm gonna play it again. Let me know if you hear it.
Hmm. Nothing. That's a shame. But I believe you, real. We all believe you. She uses that phrase. You even sent
Okay.
me the link, and I checked it, and it's real.
You can go look at the I don't know why the sound isn't playing on this video, but you can go look at the season 1 trailer, and in it you hear a character say, we didn't come here, we were brought here."
And how many seconds in is it? Is it about 1 minute, 37 seconds?
Yes, it's somewhere up in there. You just
Okay.
watch the whole trailer. I mean, it's worth it. I mean, it'll bring back some memories if anything, right? So you'll hear the character say, we didn't come here, we were brought here." Now, you have to ask yourself the question, why would they take that out of the show? Why would they take that out of why'd they take that out of the show? I can just say it to you like this. If that was in the show in season 1, all of us would probably be on the same page with the bloodline, because being said that we've been brought here then would bring the question on why, right? And so then the question why comes, and it's a definite that we were brought here. So it totally eliminates any possibility that we randomly traveled here. So bloodline would probably be the most logical route to take with that. And so we were probably, if they didn't take that out of the show and left and put that in there, then that would have a lot of people on the same page.
Agreed.
You know, I think I think it's a really dope find.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's very telling that they took it out of the actual show. So yeah,
Real.
that was
Do you mind if
no
we
go
pull up? If we pull up my Reddit
If you
post?
have anything and you'd like to share, you could share your screen as well.
Oh, can I?
Mhm.
Oh gosh. Can you just pick a panel? I got so many tabs open. Um, yeah, let's pull that out. I just don't want to share any segments of my book or my my work documents that are all open. Let me just see if I can
Go
close
ahead
this
and
one.
minimize them.
Yeah, I'm gonna minimize it all. Got like restaurant designs and all sorts of stuff up. Um, let's see if I can make this work.
While you do that, figure that out. We're gonna go through the chat a little bit and
Yeah, that's
see
a good
what
idea.
people are saying. I see we got Julie in the building. That's dope. Carrie's back in full effect. Okay.
All right. I think
Gothic
I've
Chick
um,
says, I think time travel will happen. And as far as that's concerned, I think we've already seen it happen. I think we've already seen time travel when Boyd visits Martin, that's obviously when that place was intact. And then when he comes out of there, it's the ruins of that same place. So I think we've seen time travel. Also, the bracelet speaks time travel. And I have a theory on the bracelet as well. I think that Eloise or Miranda brought that bracelet from Frumlin to Frumlin. I think they had a dream of Jim and them at the hospital and they grabbed the bracelet. Jim probably, a lot of times when a mother's at the hospital giving birth, they like the father to suit up just like, the health people that are taking care of her. And so okay, so we got Taran's screen here.
Okay. Let's see if it's working. Does it scroll when I scroll down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I just wanted to point out these dolls here. So what are we looking at? We're looking at dolls, right? They're human heads. Some of them have
Totems
arms.
of some sort.
Yeah, but they're an effigy of a human. They're a representation of a human, which, when in miniature, you could consider it a doll. And
Mm-hmm.
these are very reminiscent of something called Nikondi. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, which is a type of hoodoo doll where nails are impaled on the doll, um, specifically to curse others and using a trapped spirit to do your building. And they're found among hoodoo practitioners in the United States. So here's an example of one of these dolls here. And another interesting thing about the trailer is that we see another bottle tree. And if you look at the bottle tree, you'll see that there's actually two blue bottles on the tree this time. And
Mm-hmm.
on the original bottle tree, there's only one blue bottle, but it's very prominent. It's right at the front. Now, hoodoo bottle trees, they weren't always entirely blue, and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
hang them from strings. They tended to actually thread the branch into the bottle itself. But I think
Mm-hmm.
if they copied it exactly, it would be so obvious as to what it is that everyone would immediately know it was hoodoo. So they've kept it more metaphorical, maybe a slightly different technique. And this, there is occasions where people have adapted this sort of hoodoo practice where they just hang the bottle from strings. So I think that's what they're doing here. It's probably a tree that Caroline Dye or Tituba in your conception would be using to protect that area. And it's actually, some people think, the origin of witches' bottles and hoodoo bottle trees. They may have similar roots in history. And they're often placed at crossroads as well to
Okay.
protect those crossroads. And the bottle tree, considering it seems to teleport Tabitha to the lighthouse, we might also think that it is the bottle tree that teleports Jim and Jade and Kenny to different times, different time periods. It may even be that when you go through the bottle tree with one of the pieces of paper from the bottle tree, it takes you to the time period written on that piece of paper. So anyway, the other interesting thing about hoodoo, that we have newspapers on the wall.
Well,
It
before you go
Right.
further, I want to point out something about the Kandi dolls. They're okay. So those dolls, the Nkandi is just one type of them, right? The
Mhm.
Nkandi doll is just one type of Nkisi doll.
Yes.
Okay, and the Nkisi doll, there are different types. There are four different types of them, and they're made for different purposes. And the Nkandi doll is like one of the types of dolls. And typically, when you see one of those, they have like some sort of hatchet or some sort of weapon because they are meant to not only ward off evil but attack anyone that harms you. Like, and this is found in voodoo, right? This is like in the Congo regions. You talked about that, and which is around, like, some of that is known as Nigeria today. And you have the hoodoo, which is more of a natural aspect of the religion itself. Voodoo is like a religion, and hoodoo is more of like healing and protection and things of that nature, right? So,
Hmm.
like, you could take a handful of a certain herbs and throw them in the hallway, and someone that comes down that hallway that means you harm might begin to have pain in their legs or pain in their feet. And those are the kind of things that you see in hoodoo rituals. This is why you see a lot of people like spitting the libation. Spitting the libation it's almost like mouth to mouth, like you're spitting it into the
Hmm.
mouth of the deity. You might see a practitioner hold up a chicken, cut the head off, and then spit out some Bacardi on the chicken. You see what I'm saying? These are the kind of things
Yeah,
that you would see in like hoodoo.
yeah, and we'll see more of this in this about the spitting.
Not to
And I
mention, this is also known as roots.
yes,
It's
root
also known
doctors.
as roots, root doctors,
Hmm.
and root practitioners.
Hmm.
So,
And we see Roots on the show.
and
And
we
what
see
is
roots
Katri's
on.
first name? Rudra, which means roots.
Right, right. So, yeah, so continue. Go ahead. You were talking about the different aspects of hoodoo.
Well, yes, so the other interesting thing is that not only does Victor have newspaper on the wall of his room, but we see this newspaper up close in the opening credits for From. And
Mhm,
this is actually something that Hoodoo apotropaic practitioners would do. So apotropaic means protective magic. So that's what the bottle tree is. That's what the newspapers are. But the Nakondi and some of the other things we're going to be discussing are actually about cursing other people. And I think on this show, this hoodoo witch that battles with the boogeyman in one of the timelines, I suspect she not only is on the defensive, but she's also on the offensive, which is something the boogeyman was not used to. He's used to people just being on the defense. And I think in her timeline, she goes on the offense. And that's why potentially in that timeline, they actually come close to winning. But in any case, you can see here a hoodoo practicing woman with newspapers pasted all over her wall in much the same way. Now, I also wanted to credit Real here, which I do, as Real pointed out when we were discussing spitting, because I mentioned that Boyd, when he comes out of Martin's prison, he spits everywhere, right? And you can see it here, retching, spitting when he
mhm.
spits. And what's interesting is, when we were discussing this Real, you pointed out that Jade also spits the liquor out in the bar, doesn't he? And he's like, "What is this shit?" And I give you credit here, Real, in brackets, for that. I always try and remember things that you have taught me, so that I can credit you. So
Oh, thank you.
that is another type of practice, which is the spitting thing. They would spit in the direction of who they were cursing quite often, but also in the ways that Real describes. Unfortunately, I have to just go with what's on Wikipedia because most of the clues and information on the show, they seem to have aligned it with what's available only in the first few links on Google. And I think they do that intentionally because they want to help people solve it. So even if Wikipedia is sort of inaccurate or not complete information, the show kind of treats the Wikipedia page as complete information. You can find out more by like getting deeper and deeper, but the deeper you go, the less the show aligns with it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
That's what I've found in my research. Um, but in any case, okay, so that's the spitting part. And then here's the other interesting thing. So the boogeyman is infested with worms. And he's also, when the curse is passed to Smiley, he's infested with cicadas as well.
Mm.
So and what's interesting about Hoodoo is pretty much one of the only like curse practices where it curses you to have living creatures inside you. Like that's quite an unusual and specific curse, right? And yet it's very specific to hoodoo, and it's almost always insects of some kind. You can see here, infesting people with living animals like insects or worms was a common hoodoo curse. And what do we see on the show? We see this ballerina with worms spilling out of her, people who get infected with this curse that seems to be passed through blood, right? This is a curse that is passed through blood. So Martin has the curse. Martin is possessed by the boogeyman. He's like the boogeyman's avatar. So he has the same curse as the boogeyman. So he's got all these worms inside him. And then he passes the curse to Boyd through the blood. Boyd then has the curse. The curse is overwhelming him. The boogeyman is about to make Boyd his avatar and his puppet. And he's looking forward to it. That's Katri, by the way. The boogeyman is able to shapeshift to look like people that have died in Fromland. So he's shapeshifted to look like Katri. In fact, I think they don't even need to be dead because I think he also shapeshifts into Alice to freak out Boyd when he's climbing up the tunnel. Um, but in any case, um, uh, this curse seems to be about having worms and insects inside you. And then Boyd passes this curse to Smiley, and then Smiley like dies, and then the curse bursts out of him in the form of cicadas, which then spread and attack everyone. So that is the dissipation of a very powerful hoodoo curse that I believe is performed by Aunt Caroline Dye in like 1869 or 1870, I think, if I had to guess the year. Another interesting thing is this cursing powder called goofer dust. Do you know much about goofer dust, Real?
Yes.
So again, I have to go with like the basic information that's available on Wikipedia. I'm sure there's a lot more to this, but from what I've seen, goofer dust is made up of several components. One is grave dirt, and we see grave dirt a lot on the show. We also have insect chitin, so that's like pieces of dried insects, and we have cicadas everywhere. Anvil dust. It's interesting, isn't it, that we see Ellis blacksmithing, like he's like hammering stuff, and then Fatima comes and says, "We need to show Julie the Brundles." There's also ashes. So Katri mentions ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So this is goofer dust, and one of the ingredients is ashes. There's also oil that you add, and there's oil with a big droplet on a bar poster. There's Bible verses. Obviously, we have Katri and Frank's wife, Lauren, writing out Bible verses, and we have shots of Tabitha holding them. And then, isn't it interesting that Victor gives Tabitha this sort of little pouch that's like tied up, and it's kind of unusual and small. And that might be a hoodoo mojo bag, which would be filled with similar things. And then also Van oil is a substance that's used in hoodoo. And we see the word van used a lot on the show as well. They're like, get in the van. You know, they have that special van. Isn't it
Yeah.
interesting that the only vehicle that they keep mentioning on the show is a van, and you have this van oil thing? So I'll pause there and let you come in because there's still a bit more to go.
Yeah. So you have the goofer dust. I'm familiar with that. That's pretty much like that's a harmful thing. Like that's something that you
Mhm.
would create to cause harm to someone. It comes from the word kufwa,
Oh, interesting.
right? And so it comes from the word kufwa. That's where they get the goofer.
You see,
Um,
this is why, we bounce off each other so well, because I didn't know that, so that's very cool.
right. So yeah, I mean, I totally see these things popping up in the show. Like even I love your theory about the boy in white being the other dog.
Mm. Yeah, he's Loop
Um,
Guru. I'm fairly certain he's Loop Guru. So
right.
there's three, basically all there's seven sort of immortal beings that live in Fromland, and we've only met a few of them, and the boy in white is one of them. And every single one of these is unfortunately for some people who won't like this, but I'm fairly certain that they're all Northeast Canadian um, cryptids, basically. So we're gonna find Bigfoot. We're gonna find a giant spider. We're gonna find a sort of sea serpent, lake serpent called Cressy, although they probably won't call it Cressy on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see Loup Garou, which is a werewolf. We're going to see
Mm-hmm.
Bon Homme Set Urs, which is like a sort of Sandman, Boogeyman combination, which is why we have that Sandman song playing on the show. And I can't remember all the other ones. But anyway, sorry to digress there. Um, Foot track magic. Would you like to tell us a bit about foot track magic, or would you like me to leap in?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Foot track magic.
So foot track magic is this thing where like if you curse like someone's step almost. So if they step in the wrong place, they get cursed. It's almost like a landmine, but in curse form. And what's interesting is on the show, people are always saying stuff like "watch your step," "watch your feet," "don't step there." Like it's super interesting actually. Like whenever someone's unconscious or being helped to walk somewhere, like Boyd, when he's staggering, when he gets all cursed, and then Kenny is like helping him. But people are always saying to watch their feet, which is kind of interesting. Watch your step. So I think that connects to foot track magic. Also, Caroline Dye was always known as Aunt Caroline Dye. And
Mm-hmm.
what's interesting is Christy says twice in a row, "You said that you were going to see your aunt. That's why you were on the bus, to see your aunt." Like that, she said that is not two separate quotes. That is one straight quote. So, and what is the information there? You said that you were going. Zero information. To see, zero information. Your, zero. Aunt, noun. So the only word here that's interesting is aunt. That's why you were on the bus, to see your aunt. Well, okay, bus is the other noun here, but aunt is the one that comes up twice.
And
So
also, aunt is the only abstract family member that's brought up on the show. You have the grandparents being brought up, and then you have this random mentioning of the aunt twice in the same line.
absolutely. Now, so I think that that's a reference to Aunt Caroline Dye. She would also fortune tell by spreading playing cards in front of her.
Hmm.
She would not use tarot cards.
And we saw
Um,
Tilly doing that as well.
exactly. Tilly spreads these cards. She is actually playing solitaire by the looks of it, but I think that's a subtle hint towards that. It's also a
Spider
subtle hint.
solitaire.
Is it spider solitaire?
Well, I was just making a
Hmm.
reference to the spiders. There's a spider solitaire version of the game.
That's interesting. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
spider solitaire version of that game, and that
mhm,
just spoke to the spiders for me, you
mhm.
know. But I wanted to get onto another part of your theory about
Sure.
about Tabitha needing to gather items. Now, in the trailer, when in the trailer when Tabitha goes to see the guy who we think is Victor's father, and I'm gonna just say it. I think that that's Victor's father. He
Yeah.
said,
No. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
"Can you guys hear
Guaranteed.
that? Can you hear that?
I'm sorry, man.
You can't hear that? Okay." So
No.
he says, "I think you're here for what's in the basement." Now we're just assuming that what's in the basement is the paintings. What if there's something else in the basement that Eloise brought back with her that Tabitha needs to see? What if there's something else in the
Say
basement?
again.
What if there's something else in the basement other than the photos?
Oh, there's something else.
Because he says to her,
Hmm.
he says, "You might be here for what's in the basement." And we all assume that it was the pictures, and just because we see her standing there looking at the pictures, that's all it's going to be. But what if there's something else in the basement that she may need? And
Hmm.
and also, I'm asking this to you and everyone in the chat. Do you think that Victor's father, or the man that's with Tabitha, that we see with Tabitha, do you think that they are going to leave and go travel together? Or will he just simply take her to where Eloise is at? And do you think Eloise is still alive? Could she have been tormented by these things and unalived herself or done something like that? Um, could she have been placed in some sort of, home for mentally insane? Uh, I don't know. What do you think about that aspect of it? What do you think that he's showing her? Is it just the paintings? Is it just the bottle tree in the yard? Is there something else? And where is Eloise?
I think that it will be a dead end. I think that all we will know is that Eloise ran away as a teenager. And I think at the very end of season 3, Tabitha will return defeated to her mother's house. She will potentially see her mother lecturing at university. In fact, I think she'll meet her mum at her workplace. I think she'll see her mum lecturing about Leonardo
Oh,
da
so
Vinci.
you're still convinced that Eloise is Tabitha's mother?
100%. I'm sorry. 100%. I am certain. I am
Okay.
certain. Yeah.
Now
I think.
I have a problem with Eloise being Tabitha's mother, especially
Mhm.
now that we know Eloise is than at least several years younger than Victor. So that would make Victor old enough to be Tabitha's father, and I just can't see that.
I have done the maths, and it would require Eloise having Tabitha at the age of 16 to 18. Um, and But obviously, what we know is that Miranda gave birth to Eloise and Victor when she was 16. Um, so this is a family that has had children very young, several times, potentially. I think that Eloise ran away with another young
Say, what
coupled
did you
boy.
say about Victor?
I said that I calculated that the actor playing Victor's dad is 73 years old. I calculated what Victor's age would be based on the age that Jeff Pinkner said he was in season 2, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was 9 or 10. And I calculated if he was that age in 1978, what age would he now be in 2022? I think it was. And I figured out that in order that Victor's dad would have had to have had Victor with Miranda at 16 years old, very
If
young.
that was Victor's dad, okay. So,
Yes.
well,
So I think the
if
same thing has
Victor,
happened
they
again.
say Victor's been there for 40 years. So he's been inside Frumlin for 40 years. And if he was 10 years old, that would make him 50. That would make him 50 years old. The actor that plays Henry is 73. So that would make him 23 years older than Victor.
Um,
That would make him 23.
I
If
can't I can't
Victor's
I
50,
can't remember the calculations off the top of my head. It's too.
if Victor's 50, if Victor is 50,
I think he's older than 50. I think he's older than 50. I think he's been there for 44 years potentially, to be
well,
exact.
I thought they said almost 40 years, or he's been there for 40 years.
Yeah, I think that's like the round number that they use, but I think it's a little more. I think it's 44. But I can't remember. I haven't done this calculation for a while, but I am certain. Like Tabitha has to have Eloise, copied the bracelet that Eloise takes from Miranda's body, Like the only way the bootstrap paradox works is if Tabitha copies a bracelet from someone else who has the same bracelet that's gone back in time. The last time we see another bracelet that looks like Tabitha's is on Miranda's wrist in 1978. We
Mm-hmm.
know that Eloise escaped into the real world. We
Mm-hmm.
know that Miranda died next to the bottle tree. We can assume that either Eloise took Miranda's bracelet from her dead body or pulled the bracelet off as she was falling into the tree. Then Eloise goes into the real world. That bracelet is all she has of her mother. She keeps it, um,
Then
grows up.
how does it get back into the town then?
So here's what I think happens. I think that Eloise has Tabitha at the age of 16 or 17. Then, with a Colombian boy, they grow up. Um, Eloise becomes a art historian
Mm-hmm.
under a new name. She's run away from her old life, and then um, Tabitha meets Jim. Jim gives her his dad's bootlaces. Tabitha makes Jim a bracelet, copying the bracelet on that her mother has, gives it to Jim. Then they go to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital, Jim's bracelet falls off in the car in the commotion. Then they get to the hospital. They realize that Jim's lost his bracelet, and they think he's lost it in the hospital, but he actually lost it in the car on the way to the hospital. And Jim's
So I
dad.
think he lost it in the hospital because when you have a baby at the hospital, a lot of times they ask the fathers to get suited up too. And they ask you to take your jewelry and stuff off so you can put the gloves on and everything and go into the delivery room with the doctors. So I'm thinking that he put the bracelet down and either Miranda or Eloise had a dream of that hospital birth, of Julie's birth, and they took the bracelet and brought it back to Frumlin, just like Boyd brought the torch back, just like Elgin brought the water in his lungs back from his dream, just like Kenny brought the burn mark back. I think
Okay,
that's how the bracelet ends up in Frumlin. Um,
okay. Well,
and and I think
sorry.
that's because not only that, I really think it's Eloise that had the dream that brought the bracelet back, because Eloise has shown that she's able to see into different times and different time periods. She saw the Civil War soldiers and she drew them. She drew the Civil War soldiers. She also drew, or when she escaped from Lynn, she went to paint exactly what was in Tabitha's vision of the Gooey kids, of the Amgui kids. And she painted the same thing, that was there. So I think that she's the one that actually has that gift to see different things. And this is probably why she ran with her mom. Let's not forget, her mom told her to keep drawing the pictures, because that's probably what made this thing materialize. And maybe Miranda getting that bracelet, it was like confirmation that something is going on with her visions in these kids.
Okay, so my understanding is that you believe that people can pull like real objects into existence from their dreams, right?
From I don't know if it's a dream. I think it's some sort of dream state though. Like
Okay,
when
okay,
Boyd was with Martin, he obviously pulled the torch back with him. Kenny pulled the burn mark. He got burnt in his dream, and it was on his arm. On some Freddy Krueger type shit. Like
okay,
the first Freddy Krueger when the girl brought the hat back.
okay. I accept that as a perfectly valid theory. It's not how I think of it, though. Um,
Okay.
I think so. If I may continue where I left off there. So picture this. So we've got this bracelet that was on Miranda's wrist that came with Eloise into the real world. That Tabitha then copies. She gives it to Jim. Jim loses it in the car on the way to the hospital. Now, why am I raising that it's the car? Because in the opening scenes of From, right? Now, think about this, okay? Um, John Griffin, the creator of the show, who workshopped that script for years before From was made. I mean, literally, I think he's been thinking of this show since he was in his 20s. That's how I think of this because of 9/11. He's been thinking of this show since 9/11, basically. So imagine this guy,
Mhm.
you're writing a pilot, and shows are not sold on their pitches. They're sold on their pilot script. Okay, the first episode has to do so much heavy lifting. And yet, in the opening scenes of the show, he has Jim and Tabitha have a completely inane conversation about how Jim's dad um, no, about how Jim owned a car that had bad brakes and a side door that wouldn't open. They name its make, they name its model, they name it as a champ, they name it as a death trap, right? Why would they give you all this detail about a car that we're never going to see, that has nothing to do with the show, that is specifically highlighted as a car that would be very bad to try and escape from monsters in Fromland with because the side door doesn't open and the brakes don't work? Right? So this car is clearly going to be important on the show. Now, who would drive this car into Fromland? Well, it would have to be someone related to Jim. Now, we know that they don't have that car anymore. Now, who is mentioned on the show that Jim knows in the real world who is not currently in Fromland? There's basically only two candidates: Tabitha's mom, who we know is Eloise,
Mhm.
and
Well, we don't know
Jim's
that,
dad.
Eloise,
Sorry,
but I'm
sorry.
with you on that.
In my theory, I'm saying,
Right.
then in this case, it would be Jim's dad, right? And we know, and Jim's dad is mentioned on the show several times, right? So what I'm thinking is that Jim gives his death trap car to his dad because they almost get into an accident on the way to the hospital, right? And because it's a death trap, and Jim's like, take the keys. We can't drive this car anymore. You know, we almost crashed on the way to the hospital. Jim's dad then drives to Fromland, dies in Fromland, and the bracelet is moved to the storage room for Tabitha to find years later.
Mm.
Then Tabitha returns the bracelet to Jim's wrist. Jim time travels to 1978. He befriends Eloise and Miranda and Victor, which is why, again, another inane conversation in the pilot script of the show, right?
Mhm.
Um, we didn't think that Tabitha's mom was going to like Jim, but she didn't. Sorry, she was going to hate Jim, but she didn't, right? And then she's like, no, she didn't. So they have an entire discussion about how Jim is supposedly going to meet Tabitha's mom for the first time. And then surprisingly, she decided she likes him. Again, what does this tell us? Doesn't tell us anything about Jim. Doesn't really tell us much about the family dynamic. What it means is Eloise recognizes, whether subconsciously or consciously, Jim from her time in Fromland and decides that she likes him. And we see this long-haired man conspicuously shown in Eloise's drawings, standing a little bit off to the side from
Yo,
Victor,
that's a very good
Eloise, and
theory.
potentially
I
Agnes.
mean, for real, that's a very good theory. That really nails in uh Eloise possibly being Tabitha's mom. I want to get to one of the comments right here. Rainbow says, "Weird question. Do you all think the monsters was human before Frumlin?" Now,
No,
I have a whole entire theory about that. Um I want to get to that. I'm going to get to my theory about that, and then I want to speak on this real quick. Let me speak on this real quick. Y'all see the cow laying down there? Okay,
Hmm.
so this cow was obviously the same cow whose neck was ripped open by the slow walker in front of Jade. So I think that the date of the day that the whole massacre happens, this is the next day, right? So let's got that out of there. Now back to your question. So your question is one more thing. You talked about John Griffin. And during last year, after I think matter of fact, yeah, season 2, around the finale of the season, John Griffin, the creator of the show, posts this. And he says, for those keeping score, the GOB abolished CRT because certain less attractive parts of American history make them uncomfortable. So I just want to point out that in his tweet, he's got a political tweet going on here. And he's talking about certain less attractive parts of American history make them uncomfortable.
Like the Fort Pillow massacre.
Right, like the Fort Pillow massacre, like
Hmm.
slavery, like
Hmm.
the usurping of
Confederacy.
the Native Americans' land and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of these different things. So he's making a reference to that. And mind you, this is right when the season was ending in July of last year. So I don't know, maybe that matters. Or at the very least, this guy has a passion for people wanting people learning about American history, I guess. So, he has the political post. All right, so now back to your question. So I have a theory that the children laying under this symbol become the slow walkers. And we know that the children are the Ankui children, or I like to call them the Amgui children, right? And so let's look here. Let me grab a couple of these photos to drive the point in. I think that the Amgui children are what is turned into the slow walkers. And I think that what happens is this symbol opens up, and it opens up all the way, and spiders come down and bite these children. um I think that I've proven my theory, at least, about the slow walkers becoming, these children becoming the slow walkers. um I think they're laying down there like this, and this spider comes down and bites them. Okay, now here is, you can see the children's claws look just like Smiles Davis when he was laying there on the gurney getting his ribs cooked. So he knows, so his hands look like these children's hands. These are terrible looking fingers. Now, now here is another picture, and I think that it's almost like a foreshadowing of this situation. When the floor opened up for Tabitha, you can see that it's open all the way, of course. And all of this is what she dug out until you get to this. Now, mind you, like, first of all, the holes look very similar and gnarly looking hole there. And I think that the cords hanging down are
It's
a,
intentional.
a
It's
that's
intentional.
intentional, of course. And I think that it is a foreshadowing of when they show us the spiders coming down on the webs, just like in Victor's drawing.
Yeah, it's telling us that like root powered, tree powered magic of some sort is what powers the town, in my
Right.
mind.
And some sort of ritual
That's
is
what the power
done.
lines are, right? The power lines represent the roots in this metaphorical side by side. What they're
Absolutely.
saying is the power, the thing that's powering this town, is the trees in some way.
Right, in some way. That's what gives it its power or its resonance, right? And we also can see that this formation with them looks like a gear. It looks like a seven tooth gear.
Wow,
Um,
that's an interesting observation. That's a very
mhm.
interesting observation
I
because
brought this
I
up
have wondered
before.
about the shape. I have wondered about the shape of the exterior and why it's so similar across the two across all the images. You know, and I
Okay,
used to think
so
it was because it's like the view from inside a hole that the curse is buried somewhere. But yeah, interesting.
okay,
Very
so
interesting.
in a clock, we see that you have these same different spokes, different number tooth of teeth on these spokes. Okay, these are components of any kind of mechanism that turns or spins. We see with the music box, when Boyd broke it, it showed us the innards of the music box and it showed
Yeah.
us a bunch of gears.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We also see at the same, and all this was in the same episode. So we saw the gears in the music box. We saw this look gear looking thing. Okay. And when Tabitha was walking up the tunnel, I mean, when she was walking up the lighthouse in the tower, there were also gears making it spin around. Now we know that the gears is what makes the lighthouse spin around. Uh-oh. Where did you go? So we know that the gears are what make the lighthouse spin around. We know the gears is what make the ballerina turn as well. And Jade is the only person in Frumlin that wears a watch with gears on it. I remember, as you pointed out one time, Randall wears a watch. However, he wears a digital watch. And we see that whatever's being done to these children is turning their hands into that. I don't think their hands are just normally like that, right? So whatever is
Yeah.
being, something's
Although I
being
do
done to them.
wonder about, you know how they say dead people's nails keep growing after they die?
Yes.
So maybe there could be something to that, that maybe it's saying they're dead, and that's why the
But
nails are
do
long,
they
but that's
start
just a
looking
theory.
like claws? They
Not
don't start look.
necessarily not
Yeah.
necessarily like
I
claws,
mean,
but I don't know if I would necessarily.
when you look at Martin's nails, he is somebody that would his nails look like how a dead person's nails would probably look after they're continuously growing. You see what I'm saying? His nails were just like long and funky. But these kids have claws, and their claws are exactly like the slow walker's claws. That's that's undeniable.
I
And I
don't know,
like to
man.
point out that it kind of looks like tree bark.
They're slightly different colors, I would say.
Well, they're probably in the process of changing. Look at look at this
Mm,
one's hands. Okay,
hmm.
so the scene where Father Khatri is where he gets swiped real quick and sliced across his neck. The hands of that slow walker look like this little girl's hands right here. We see the slow walkers are bald and these children are going bald. So they're in the process of being turned into that.
I think
We
they're in
think
the process of rotting away. That's how I see them, but that's just
okay,
me.
okay. And also when you look at them, hold on, let me see here. Here's another picture of one. These veins on the child. The veins are very and look, here's some spider bites. These look like spider bites. And it looks like all them
That's
little
interesting. The spider bites observation is interesting.
you
That is
see,
interesting.
and they're on their head as well. And
Well,
I think
yeah.
they get
Mm.
turned into the slow walkers because when you look at the slow walkers in the tunnels, all right, so somebody will bring up their
I can't square that with my theory, unfortunately.
I can push back on that a little bit and
Mhm,
say, well, the children are different ages than the slow walkers.
mm,
Well, first of all, we've seen this one slow walker who's about Julie's age. Then we seen one that's really old, right? So they're different ages within their own. The slow walkers are different ages. You see what I'm saying? So you got a teenage boy slow walker, but then you got an old granny slow walker. So they're different ages. So what would the age make a difference, right? Then on top of that, we know that the slow walkers are shapeshifters because they can totally change their entire appearance and everything. We've seen
it's
the
true.
jazz the Jasmine monster got the blood on her collar, tried to get it off. Later on, we see her again and she has no blood on the collar. It disappeared or it went into she absorbed it or something happened where she changed and it was gone.
Mm,
So, I'm just saying like they
mhm.
are shapeshifters. You see
I
what I
can't
mean?
disprove it. I can't disprove it. It's a totally valid theory. There's no information that says that this isn't a possibility. It's totally 100% within the realm of possibility.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
So I want to
May
ask
I,
you, what is
sorry,
this?
real, may I ask you for a favor?
Yeah, no problem.
So I need to go because it's like 3:26 a.m.
Mhm.
And my girlfriend would probably doesn't want me to stay up too late. But I was wondering if I could very quickly show everyone something by sharing my screen. Would that be okay?
Yes, indeed. And one more thing for me before you go, tell everybody about the trip that we're planning and that we're going on during the season of when it comes back, when the show comes back. Before you leave, let everybody know about the trip.
Sure, sure. I will do that right at the very end. How about that?
Okay, that's
Um,
great. You can go ahead and share your screen.
Sweet. Let's see. Um, Guess this. Yeah. Okay. Can you guys see this? Can you see it, real?
Yes, we can.
All right, sweet. So I know this looks super complicated, but basically, this is my overall theory of the origin of the seven beings that are present on the show. So four of them are the actual players in this game, and
Mhm.
you can see them here on the far edge. These are the archetypes that they represent. Sorry, I've got these Pinterest things flipping up. It's very annoying. But you can see here that if you look below the cursor, it starts off as Lilith and Cain in Eden for two of them. And then for three of them, it's Shamsiel, Sariel, and Azazel, three fallen angels, one of which is like the sun angel, and one of which is like the moon angel, which is where all the sun and moon symbology on the show comes from. And then the next generation, they sort of shapeshift into animals. But various of the other characters are present. So this is when you get the Boogeyman, who is Canaan, and I believe that uh, the witch character, who is now a giant spider, begins as Sarah or Sarai in the Bible. And then as
Mm.
time goes by, basically, there are so many mythologies from around the world with mysterious islands. And it's very interesting what I think the showrunners have done. What I think they've done is they've sort of had these beings evolving over time, becoming mythical, historical sort of figures in all of the world's mythologies. There's as many as they could fit in. So you actually get like the ancient Greek mythology, then like a slightly more modern, like Odyssean Greek mythology, then like a sort of Israeli mythology with Jezebel and King Solomon. Then there's like an Egyptian one, a Welsh one, an Irish one. Now, I think this will be a montage, by the way, guys. I'm not thinking that we're going to have entire seasons exploring all of these characters and all of these mythologies. I think you're going to get very quick montages
There's
showing
something
you.
wrong with your mic a little bit.
Oh, sorry. All right. Um, let me let me leave the studio and come back.
Okay, okay. So yes, we have Taran in the building. He had dipped out real quick. Hey, Scarlet, peace. Shout out to Scarlet. We definitely she definitely helped me get acquainted with StreamYard here. And we've been using the StreamYard and getting a little bit familiar with it. There's Taran, he's back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. You can go ahead and share your screen as well.
How's the sound?
It's a lot better.
Okay, great. All right. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Okay. So I want to really zoom in on this section because actually this section is what most of the show will be about. So what you're seeing here is, in fact, I'm going to zoom in even closer because, ooh, to be honest, it's really about these two here. So this is where we are currently. This is the latest iteration of all of these beings. So the sort of Lilith's children, the demons slash fairies slash elves slash Micmac balls of fire slash imps slash demons, they're different things in different times. Which basically means at the end of a show, everyone gets to say they were right. All the people who are like, this is all about Norse mythology, they get to be right. All the people who say this is about Greek mythology, they get to be right. Everyone who says this is about Native American mythology, they get to be right. So in the Tudor Newfoundland John Cabot timeline, these are the mythological creatures that I believe are being represented. But in modern Fromland, these are the beings that I think we're going to see here. So we're going to get Cressy the dragon, Newfoundland fairies, giant squid, Bonham Seters, which is the Sandman, a giant spider, Bigfoot. I genuinely believe we're going to see Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Loup Garou, which is like a sort of werewolf, but it's like more like a were dog, and a sort of hag. And I actually think each one of these people has an avatar. I think Donna is one of these avatars. I think that Martin was Bonhomme Setter's previous avatar. I think Marielle is his next avatar. Um, I'm not sure about these two, but could be. Could be their avatars unknowingly. But anyway, I just wanted to share this with everyone. And then finally, I wanted to say this is what I mean when I suggest that there's like objects that are passed across time. So there are these, you can see here on the left-hand side, all of these different objects. And I think what the showrunners have done is they're going to show these objects sort of transforming across time into being represented in these different mythologies. This Greek mythology, Israeli mythology, like Grail mythology, Irish mythology. So you'll see these sandals, sort of shoe, passing across time, becoming different things. And I think the most important one is this red book over here, and possibly this emerald too. And so as time goes by, they convert into different things that, one a scepter that belongs to one to Moses, but eventually becomes Merlin's, becomes Odin's staff. And these are the objects that I think are actually going to be what Tabitha is using a Da Vinci Code quest to eventually collect. All of these objects here are what I think they've ended up as in the modern day. I'm absolutely certain about the blunt Stradivarius. I'm absolutely certain about all of these, La Pellegrina earring, Elizabeth I emerald pendant, John Dee's various artifacts. I think Stephen King is going to be the character that gives Tabitha this red book, and then that book will tell us the story of John Cabot's timeline. And then later, these characters, as we meet them on the show, will slowly tell pieces of this story in a sort of very sort of jumpy sequence. We will never see anything like this detail, but I think something like this is what the showrunners are using as their base. And I guarantee you some of these objects will be seen on the show. And I even think the skull.
Yo, shout out to Dana Marie for gifting those two those memberships. We have 2 new people to the
Very nice.
magnified posse. Let's go ahead and thank her for that.
Thank you very much. All of these donations are going towards our trip. So anyway, I'll stop talking about this theory of mine, but I just wanted to say Lord Byron's skull cup there. I think that's what we saw on the show, an older skull in an older timeline, and I think Lord Byron's skull cup is what it ends up at. All right, I will stop sharing my screen. And Real, if you would be so kind as to put up the map of our trip. I don't have that to hand, unfortunately.
Okay, let me get that for us.
I'm on a different laptop.
Uh, let's see, where are you? Oh, I know it's in our WhatsApp chat, so I can pull it up.
Yeah, I could try and find it myself.
Uh,
I'm on a different laptop today.
Man, we talk so much on here and drop so much photos and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh, you found it? Oh, I
Yeah,
found it too. I found it.
Oh, you got it? Okay. I don't know how to do it without like putting it up on Reddit or something.
I got it right here. Okay.
All right. So this is the trip we are going on, or hopefully we will be. So any donations that you're making to Real will go towards his portion of the trip. Real is going to be doing a lot more work than me. Although I'm paying for all the gas and the car rental, Real's going to be doing all the driving, and I feel like, that's very kind of him. We should, get him paid to make that worth his trouble. The other thing that Real's going to be doing is cutting together all the footage that we're going to be filming. I mean, I'm going to be filming too, but Real's going to be filming, and then he's going to cut together all the footage and put it up as a documentary on his channel. Maybe he'll send me like the final file, and I get to put an identical video up that will get far fewer views than his. But maybe I don't know. We haven't discussed that actually. But in any case, Real is going to be doing a lot of work. So to provide this like documentary of our trip together, and it's going to be very, very from focused. Practically every place we're going to, except for Grossmorn National Park, I believe has some deep connection to the show's history. So just to run you through the journey. We're going to start in St. John, and we're going to do a day trip to Cape Race Lighthouse. I believe Cape Race Lighthouse is the location of the curse. I believe that the witch's bottle that contains the curse, that contains Fromland, is buried beneath Cape Race Lighthouse. And I believe that Cape Race Lighthouse is the one because it has this unique Fresnel lens, which the showrunner spent a lot of money recreating. It has a unique clockwork mechanism that keeps the lens turning. It's also its lens also rests in a vat of mercury, very rare to have this sort of thing. And on the show, one of the number plates has the word Mercury written really large on it. Thank you to Martina on Facebook for pointing that out to me. The other thing that's special about Cape Race Lighthouse is its connection to the Titanic, because it was the first land-based radio station to hear the Mayday call from the Titanic, and it's very similar to Jim's Mayday call on the radio. And I actually believe that you can see the smokestacks of the Titanic in one of the paintings. And obviously, there are many, many references to ice on the show. Ice cube boxes everywhere, ice machines everywhere with the word ice on stickers on the outside. So Cape Race Lighthouse, I believe that's where the curse is located. I actually believe that's why the monsters look like they're black and white sitcom characters from the 1950s or 1960s even. I think this is because Cape Race Lighthouse's radio station was decommissioned in 1965, which means they stopped receiving radio signals, which was what they watched the sitcoms on TV on. And that's how they made their glamour. That's how they made their illusion, was watching these normal people on TV. So that's why they look that way. That's why they're always in shades of gray. That's why they're these sort of stereotypical, like a milkman, a jock, a cheerleader. It's like a TV series, right? It's like a sitcom. Um, and Anyway, so we'll start there. Real and I are going to try and take a photo outside the lighthouse, and then wouldn't it be cool as if in like the penultimate season or something, when Tabitha and Eloise are doing their adventure, trying to figure out what's going on, we have a picture right outside where they end up going to. So then we're going to explore St. John's, and we're going to go to, which doesn't actually have anything to do with From really, but there will be cool stuff to do there. It's really beautiful. We'll take some cool videos. Then we're going to go to Bell Island. Bell Island is famous for its mines.
We can do the stream. We can do a live stream from St. John's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. St. John's will be a really beautiful place to do some videos anyway, and talk about John Cabot and other aspects of the story. So then Bell Island is the next stop. I believe that Bell Island is actually Circe's island in the story of Odysseus in the lore of the show. And I think that we may even see some scenes filmed there. So we're going to explore the mines of Bell Island. For example, did you notice, Real, that the new cop character on From is called Da Costa?
No, I
And do you know what
didn't
that means?
realize that.
That means by the coast.
By the
Literally has
coast.
no
Yes,
other
the
meaning than by
costa.
the coast.
Yes,
So,
by the
you know,
coast.
island vibes. I'm telling you, it's all about a mysterious island.
And then you have the bell once again with that, boy rings the bell,
Exactly.
Bell Island.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bell references on the show. In fact, I am absolutely certain that the Hunchback of Notre Dame and Victor Hugo will be a major part of the lore of From. And I actually visited Victor Hugo's house in Paris earlier this year just to get some photos where I think Tabitha and Eloise will be walking around. So in any case, that's Bell Island. Then we're going to go to Gander. Now, if you haven't seen the last live with me and Real,
Real quick, is this his house?
no, that's a different place.
Okay.
I haven't sent you any pictures of his house. I didn't
Oh, okay.
photograph very well, unfortunately. But I do believe Tabitha will end up going there to
Okay. And
research.
so while we talking about the trip,
Mhm.
I definitely want to know about the gander information that you didn't tell me. So this would be you telling me in front of everybody.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It wasn't any more information about Gander. Sorry, it was about the lighthouse and its connections.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but we didn't have time to go into in too much detail. I want to throw up the Wikipedia page at some point and go through it
Okay.
together to explain why we're going there. Because there's all sorts of connections. There's even the word mistake used a lot on the show, and Cape Race is on Mistaken Point. There's also the word race used a lot on the show as well. But anyway, so Gander, if you haven't seen the last live with me and Real, that was probably the most fun I've ever had on a live because we were simultaneously discovering clues. It was amazing. Like when the come away from the window, that
Oh yeah,
was
that was crazy.
amazing. That was so good. So Gander, we're going there because it is my belief, and hopefully eventually Real's belief, that the reason why John Griffin constantly references 9/11 when he's asked about when he came up with the idea for From is because Gander, Newfoundland, it used to have this huge airport back when planes didn't have that huge a range, right? So to cross the Atlantic, people would land in Gander to refuel. But eventually, plane engines and plane fuel storage became good enough that Gander became defunct. It became this huge abandoned airport. And 9/11, something like 80 planes were diverted away from their trip to North America to land in one place, the only airport that was large enough to house all these planes that wasn't in mainland North America, because mainland North America had shut down because of these terrorist attacks. So they all landed in this place called Gander, and they brought tea and they brought blankets, and they opened up their homes to house these thousands of people who had suddenly ended up in this tiny town in Newfoundland, and they ended up making a Broadway show called Come From Away, about this relationship between the people. And I think John Griffin was one of these plain people. I think that he explored Newfoundland even. He fell in love with the mythology. He fell in love with the history. And he came up with this crazy crazy story about that somehow manages to cover pretty much every mythology in history that people know, like the main ones: Greek, Viking, like Christian Templar, like sort of Jewish, archaic, Egyptian, like all the main mythologies. He's managed to jam them in, even elven stuff. Like everyone gets to be right on the show because the beings, these seven beings, evolve and jump from mythological timeline to mythological timeline across time. So in any case, I think he fell in love with Newfoundland and created this story. So I think we'll be walking in his footsteps when we're in Gander. Then we're going to go to the Bear Talk Interpretation Center, where we're going to learn about the Bear Talk. I'm really excited about that because the information on the Bear Talk on the internet is actually quite limited, especially examples of their art, example like artifacts that belong to the Bear Talk. I just feel like there's a lot of new information to learn there that might not be available online, which might help us solve the Bear Talk part of the show. I believe in John Cabot's timeline that the accused witch, Bridget of York, she has to escape from the colony and she takes refuge with the Bear Talk people. So I think the Bear Talk do have a large part to play in the origin story, but not as large as I once thought.
I want to point out something that Carrie said, because 9/11 was a strike on America, and the show is
Mhm,
about America and historical events, which
mhm,
9/11 definitely was ultimately a historical event as soon as it happened. It was something
mhm.
that changed the country, changed everything. I remember before 9/11 when your family could go and walk up to the gate with you to your airplane.
Yeah.
Like now, that's a thing of the past, and there's some people that don't even remember when it used to be like that. Shit, I'm really showing my age when I say that I remember when people used to smoke in the airport.
Yeah, I still remember when, and not so much people smoking in the airport, but when the ashtrays were still in the plane,
Yeah,
and they still smell the smoke. Um, so
people used to
sorry.
smoke on the airplane. I remember that.
Yeah, I was never on an airplane where people smoked, but I do remember the ashtray things, and I just can't imagine what it would have been like. So after we go to the Bear Talk Interpretation Center, we're going to go to Grossmont National Park. Now, this just happens to be a stop on our way. As you can see, it's a very long drive, so we have to stop somewhere. So I thought we could stop somewhere beautiful. Now, I know that there's a mountain cave, there's an underground cavern inside a mountain that will feature on the show at some point. But I don't think it's in this national park. I think it's actually in the Torn Gap Mountains, which are sort of across the bay in mainland North America. I actually think that's where they think that's where they portray Mount Ararat in Noah's story. I know I sound like a crazy person, but that's where my research has led me. So we'll see if I'm right. So then we go to St. Anthony's Airport. Actually, before we do that, we're going to go to Lance Ormedeux, in the very northern point of the island, and that's where the Viking settlements in Newfoundland were. That's where Leif Erikson potentially built his colony. Although I think they're actually going to have Leif Erikson's colony be near Cape Race. It was, to be fair, Lance Ormedeux, which is basically the like Isle of the Jellyfish. Um, as you know, I think jellyfish are important on the show. Um, the Isle of the Jellyfish is going to be very interesting, because it's where the Vikings set up their like a way station. We think that there are many people think that there are other settlements in Newfoundland that have sort of like been taken apart, where people didn't realize how old they were. But anyway, so we're going to learn about the Vikings and the Vikings discovering North America in terms of Europeans discovering. Um, then we're going to head back to St. Anthony's Airport. Hopefully, we can drop off the rental car there. Otherwise, we've got a very long drive back, where we're going to have to drop it somewhere else. But we'll figure it out. And then we're going to fly back to St. John's. And then, depending on budget, we will either continue to Halifax to check out where From is filmed. However, my understanding is that you're not allowed to walk around on set. The gates that you can't drive past are pretty far from the set. You can just about glimpse a corner of Colony House and a few storage containers. So I don't think it'll be that exciting. certainly don't want to break into the show set. I think that would be very disrespectful. So we would literally be hanging around by the gate and then checking out the sites in Halifax, like the local hangouts where maybe the actors would hang out on off days and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
we'll see. It depends on how many
maybe see if
donations
we
Real
can
gets.
get some. Maybe see if we can get some shots of the actual house of Victor's house where they filmed that part,
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. I would like to do that. I don't
and
know.
see if they
I think
still
there's a
have the
coffee
bottles
shop.
in the tree. That would be interesting.
Mhm. Now there was an extra who filmed a Tabitha scene in Halifax, and they leaked it all online, and then they deleted everything.
Say
And they,
what?
yeah, it was very like they literally had almost no information, but they got paranoid. And as I understand, they, by the way, they hate my theory with a passion and always post really withering stuff whenever I have anything to say. But it will make my victory all the sweeter when the first historical figures start showing up. So we'll see. But in any case, they said, um,
I'm already
um,
feeling the vibe of all right. So people were laughing at my theories last year,
mhm,
and I just feel like uh the pilgrims and the Puritans being shown in the in our new trailer,
mhm,
I think that kind of gives my theory some credence. And I feel
absolutely.
like by the end of season 3, a lot of these theories are going to be hanging by a thread. And I feel like the American history theory is still going to be standing strong with a lot more
Absolutely.
credence behind it as well.
Mhm. People are going to be
All
very
they need to
focused on
do is
Hoodoo.
really give us a montage of some shit happening in the past. I mean, if you don't believe that this show is has anything to do with American history, I mean, I've shown you the picture of the guy's post. He talked about American history. Um, there's a Civil War soldier in there. You know what I'm saying? It- I feel like you got to be in denial at this point. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not against any theory that there's some sort of simulation. I'm not even against the aliens for real, right? However, I haven't seen any like really esoteric, deep clues on that stuff. I think the deepest clues that you get are the actual American history aspects. And some people use the World's Fair as a clue that's kind of deep. But again, the World's Fair is American history. So it is what it is. I mean, it's on the show. Now we're starting to see pilgrims. And here you have, I've been talking about Native Americans the whole time. So yeah,
Mhm,
I just think that that's where we're
mhm,
going. I think that's where the story's going.
mhm,
I think they're gonna get there and explain. I think we're gonna have a montage of sorts, and I think a lot of the clues that we see are see you take them more literally than I take them. Actually, I take them as symbols and symbology. I think that the symbology is speaking when it comes to a lot of the clues that we notice.
mhm.
Um,
Well,
I, I
unfortunately, I have to go. It has been 2 hours. It was
oh
supposed to
yeah,
be one. My agreement was one. I've done two. I haven't received any grumpy messages though, so she probably fell asleep. But I should go back up.
I
But
heard
I
in the
do want to.
chat that she was messing with the Wi-Fi. That's why your mic was messing up.
Yes, yes. Um, but there was one thing I wanted to say before I go. Oh yeah, I just wanted to ask you one question, real.
Go ahead.
Okay, as you know, I have various lists of historical figures that I am applying to each timeline. Pretty much every timeline has at least 20 that I've predicted, right? Now, if in season 3 we see a timeline, say the 1860s timeline, and I have guessed 70%, let's say, of the historical figures that appear there. So there's some I haven't guessed and some I got wrong, but like 70% are correct. How would you feel about all the other sets of historical figures I have for all the different timelines? Would you be more convinced then that I've got more that there's more historical figures to come and that I'm probably got a good beat on them?
Yeah, of course. Of course. See, this is the thing about me too. I am one of those that can change my opinion if I'm presented with information that is valid, that
I have
resonates
noticed that about you. I've
with
noticed
truth.
that about you.
You know what I'm
If
saying?
I may
I can
say, guys,
change
I've been
my
speaking to
opinion.
Real for a while, and Real is one of the most open-minded people. Very open to other people's ideas and integrating them into his own. That's one of the things that I respect the most about you, Real.
Yes, indeed. Like, I mean, look at Tony's theory about, government experiments and stuff like that. I wouldn't be mad if at the end they were to show us that the government, all of this was what we were talking about having to do with, ancient mysticism and history and mythology and all of these different things. However, the government was observing this and they were doing something to where they were observing it and trying to get a bead on it and understand how it was working, or if they were even able, or if they were even helping get these bloodlines in there, you know what I'm saying, so that they can figure something out, or because it was actually causing a problem, or they were trying to keep it contained and not let it out. Because if this thing gets out, what can it do once it's out? So I think that's a dope way to end this conversation between you and I. I'm going to continue. We're going to still keep rocking out. It's Saturday Night Live, folks. It's what? It's almost been 2 hours. Actually, yeah, it's almost been 2 hours. It's almost 11 o'clock EST. Thank you, brother Taran, as always, for coming by, dropping jewels. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I can't wait for the trip. If you guys want to donate to the trip and support the channel, hit us on Cash App, $ Real Enigma, or you can drop us a super chat or buy some memberships, give some memberships to the people. That all of those proceeds are going to my portion of the trip. It's gonna be a really good trip. We're also gonna be making a documentary out of it. And if you want to see this happen and you want to support it, go ahead and drop something on the Cash App or drop a super chat. Give yourselves a round of applause, by the way, and give Taryn a shout out for showing out. Give all the moderators a shout out. I think I seen us peak at like 99 people in here. That was pretty dope. That's the most I've ever had on a stream so far. We're still going strong. We're gonna be rocking for a little while longer. I'm gonna
And let's
bring some callers up.
drop a like on Real's video.
Yes, drop a like on the video if you haven't liked it already. Let's get the
We've got
likes
to
up.
see more people on Real's channel. We cannot let the alien theories win. We we must let the history and American history and mythology theories win.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I think that our analysis of this show is very valuable to the people because it gets their mind rolling, and it also gets them to studying, and it teaches them things that they didn't know before. I must admit, even though I noticed a lot of things and I had a lot of stuff from memory, I during doing the research for this stuff, I've learned a lot and it has made me better. It's made me a better person creating this content for you. And I love doing this. So if you want to see us go on this trip and create some more dope content based on this show, go ahead and support the channel so we can make it happen.
All right. See you all
All
later.
right,
Thanks,
brother
Real.
Taryn. I'll catch you on the next one. Yes, indeed. So here's the trip. We're gonna start at St. John's. We're gonna take a little trip down to Cape Race. A brother gonna be driving. So this says 19 hours and 39 minutes is the entire drive, but it's gonna be longer than that because think about it. I gotta drive from St. John's to Cape Race, and then we gotta come back up and go then, to Bell Island and Gander. I'm really interested in the Gander part because I actually want to see if I can interview some people that may have been around during 9/11 and they remember all of the different planes coming in. And so just to give you a perspective on what the gander part means is um the writer of the show said that his inspiration for the show was 9/11. Now, how it would be 9/11 is very strange to me, especially when you see the content of the show is a horror show, right? 9/11 was definitely horrific. However, on 9/11, in the city of Gander in Newfoundland, hundreds of people, I think it might have been thousands of people actually, were stranded in Gander from all over different places. That kind of makes sense when you're talking about 9/11 and from, because from is a bunch of people from different places trapped in this town. And on 9/11 in Gander, there were thousands of people trapped in this town and they couldn't get out. And they had to wait pretty much until it was clear for them to leave and then resume their flights to wherever they were going. And so, with the show creator saying that 9/11 was his inspiration from the show, it wouldn't surprise me if he was one of those lucky travelers that had to end up in Gander because his flight was derailed and had his flight was grounded in Gander, and that and he's standing around with a bunch of people from different places, and then he uses that as his inspiration to create from. So I think that I really want to dig my heels into that part of the trip as well. As well as all of the other stuff, the bear thought things as well. Um, that is very significant because we will be bringing very little known information to the entire world because they're looking up the Balthok people. You can't really find much on them online. You can't find a lot of their artifacts, a lot of their artwork, a lot of remnants of their customs. Is very hard to find on the internet. And so, with us going to this trip, we are definitely going to add this into our documentary and take lots of pictures if we're permitted to bring this information to the world about the Balthok people. And, look at how far Gander is away from the Balthok interpretation. Blah. You see it. You see, look how close it is. I'm sitting here, I'm tongue tied. Can't talk tonight. But look how far Gander is. Perhaps he was a traveler on one of those planes and he was grounded there and he took a trip over to this place to just do some sightseeing while he was stuck in Gander. And that was part of the inspiration. And he learned that these are the beginnings of the United States started up here. You have the Vikings landed all the way up here, and then you have other people landed. Christopher Columbus's son came through. Other people landed in various spots that is a part of the story of America. Let's keep in mind that all of the borders are imaginary, fictitious, right? So all of this is one landmass. However, everyone that travels into Frumland is within side of those borders. So maybe it has to do something with the inception story of how this place was bordered off. But I digress on that. I wanted to talk about a couple of other things. But first, I'm going to go through the chat and see what you guys are talking about so I can build with y'all here. Let me stop this. Or not stop that, but pull this back up. Okay, so before Taran left, I wanted to ask him what was this? What did he think this was? A lot of people think that this is some sort of monster or being, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure and I'm not sold. We don't have enough information yet. Um, so we'll see. We'll find out. As far as these children, the ghoulie kids being the slow walkers, I think I cooked that whole subject. I think I definitely, put some fish fillet on the grill and cooked it for y'all. This is the smoking gun. The hands, the hands is the smoking gun, and the the veins on their body showing through their skin is like extra bullets for real. I think those children are being turned into what we call slow walkers in these parts. Let me know what you guys think. Let's look at these let's look at these let's look at these chats here. The nightmare monster got in the colony house. They didn't follow Victor or Julie. And beg the question, how did Victor know where the tree was behind Colony House without seeing the boy in white? Well, Rainbow, he did see the boy in white. They came down, and while Julie was getting herself together, she wasn't looking. Victor turned around, saw the boy in white. The boy in white pointed in a direction, and he had to tell Julie, "Let's go this way." So he did see the boy in white, and the boy in white told him where to go and where the faraway tree was. That's a very interesting part of the show, because did the faraway tree take Victor to the tunnels where the monsters live? That if so, that's crazy as hell. Obviously they had to, because then Victor finds Tabitha down there and says that the boy in white told him where to hide. So is there a way to hide from the monsters in their own domain under the houses in the tunnels? Very interesting. I thought that was real interesting. Where did he hide, and where did it take him to the tunnel? Like, where did he pop up? It just seems like wherever the faraway tree takes you, it has to be some sort of like enclosed area, you would think. It just seems like that. Like when it took Julie to the root cellar, that was enclosed. Then she came out of the little closet in the root cellar. When it took Boyd to the well, he was in the bottom of the well. What, can you just go through a faraway tree and just pop up somewhere in the middle of a field? It kind of makes you wonder, like, what's up with that. I want to talk about a couple of things. I brought up the point about what else could be in the basement other than those paintings. Is there anything else that Tabitha is going to find down there? Um, is Victor's father going to go with her? And I think that the answer to that question is yes. I think Victor's father is going to be going with Tabitha. I don't think Tabitha is going to be alone in her travels. I think Victor's father is going to be with her. The first date is 1609 in Tabby's dream, and that was the starving time in Jamestown, Virginia. That rail broke down. That can't be a coincidence. Well, there was an earlier time. I think it's 1507 in the Tower Dream. I think 1507 might be that one, and that's around the time when you have expeditions of settlers actually coming to um, the United States or America. Let's see. The huge red figure compared to the people. The the red figure is huge compared to the people. So you think those kids will be slow walkers? Yes, I do. I think the kids are being turned into slow walkers, and at the point of them being children, like right there is where they die and they become no more. And that's why they look like that in the visions. Um their age is kind of irrelevant, right? The age just says that there's some sort of child sacrifices being done. They doubled down on this message with the Puritan dude drinking from the skull. That is kind of like a double down on the child sacrifice. It's also a clue to the starving time of 1609, because there was a skull of a young girl who's called Jane. They named her Jane, and they found her bones in her skull with scrape marks on them from her, her flesh being removed from the bones, the brain being removed from the skull. It's not like she just they say she could have died of natural causes, and the people were eating the corpses of the people. Um that's crazy. However, these people were eating shoe leather, they were eating rats, they were eating dogs. They ate all of their horses. They didn't have any horses. And every time, here's another clue to what's going on in Frumland. It's winter, all the food is gone, um, and we're seeing Puritans. But another big clue is the fact that Boyd mentions the ambush. Okay. Now, when you go read the history of the starving time, you will see that the Indians would ambush them when they tried to come out of their fort. And so they had like this triangular fort that they lived in Jamestown. And the Jamestown settlers had to stay inside of this fort. And that's where this nightmare happened, where they started, resorting to munching on each other. So, yeah, the starving time is a definite connection. Now, also we have, that's also the one of the Christian connections. There's a Christian connection as well with the Puritans, because the Puritans, of course, they read the Bible and they were Christian. Now, the Puritans also brought a terminology to the United States called memento mori. And memento mori means remember you will die. And so it sounds like a real morbid statement, but it was something that was supposed to be inspirational for you to think about your life, and you're going to die one day. So live your life, right? But it began to take on a certain aesthetic with the Puritans, where they were like obsessed with skulls and images of death. And I even suspect this is where the skull and crossbones got their symbol from. So that's definitely connected to the show. The painting that we see, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the hands of that Puritan in the painting has their hand on a skull, because that is how these people are depicted. I even have some pictures of that I could show you. The memento mori. Here's one here. Okay. This looks almost just like the Pilgrim Inn. This looks almost just like the Puritan that was in the painting. Hold on, where's the paintings at? Let me pull the painting up. That whole this trailer is crazy. Like, look, here you see this is a Puritan grave site, and this is what they started doing. Like, it just became totally a part of their whole aesthetic. Like, everything they did was on that. Here's a picture of the starving times. Uh-oh. Hold up. Okay. I have put this together. Okay. Now, this is Tituba. And Tituba was a native slave who practiced hoodoo and witchcraft. And the two women that she first implicated in the Salem witch trials, both of their names were Sarah. This one was Sarah Osborne, and this one was Sarah Osborne. This is Sarah Osborne, and this is Sarah Good. Okay. These are the two women that were implicated in the witch trial. And she is who implicated them. She was the center of the entire the Salem witch trials. And there were many witch trials actually throughout throughout America that the Puritans initiated throughout the years. These weren't the only ones. They were burning people at the stake. They were doing all kind of wild stuff. Hold on. I am looking for, here it is. Okay, so we have this guy and we have this guy. These look almost just alike. The resemblance is uncanny. Now I'm not saying that this is this person. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that this is what this person represents, a Puritan. This person is actually a Puritan, but I don't even think they ever stepped foot in America. This particular Puritan. And as you see right by the skull, it says memento mori, which means remember you will die. I think it's very interesting that in their aesthetic you always see a cup with these symbols. Here's some symbology here. Here's a skull and there's a cup. There's also there's a femur bone as well. And this is the inception of your skull and bones society. Okay. This here is the actual skull of the girl, Jane, who they found and proved that these people were munching back on settlers and each other. Here's another symbolism. We have the cup, and we also have the mortal and pestle, which is commonly used in herbal healing and home remedies of that day, and also cooking. You have the candle, which they used for light back then. But if you look, I went ahead and just screenshotted this, and it says memento mori. Okay, this is a common theme. Which one is this? Hold on. Okay. So you could just look up memento mori yourself, and you'll see it'll pop up with a bunch of skulls right there. You see it again. Every time you look up memento mori, this is what you find. And this is a phrase that was brought to America by the Puritans, and it was used here in America by the Puritans. Okay. Every time you see it with a cup, they always have a cup with the skull. And so what do you do from a cup? You drink from a cup. And we seen the Puritan drinking from a skull. And there's no doubt in my mind that this guy, you see the cup. There's no doubt in my mind that this guy's a Puritan. Here's a picture of a Puritan reenactment or enclosed from the 17th century. And we can look this up here. we see the same thing. We see the felt hat, we see the ruff, the doublet, the cuffs, the breeches or breeches, the garters, the stocking, and the shoes. Okay. So this is definitely what they're talking about. And I just feel like that shit just adds so much credence to my theory about I've been sitting here on this channel talking about Native Americans for a year and been getting laughed at. And I think it's undoubted, undeniable that when you're talking about Puritans and Indians, and when you're talking about Puritans and Pilgrims and whatnot, you are definitely talking about um, Native Americans. The Native Americans are intertwined with that whole thing. This dude totally has the garter. He's wearing the stockings, and he's got the what are those on? He got the Puritan 12s on. We got Puritan drip. He's Puritan dripping. He's dripping blood out his eye with the Puritan drip. He's got the fingers. I don't know. Somebody said that looks like frostbite on his fingers. Okay. Wasn't a priest accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials? Yes, indeed. There were many people accused of witchcraft, male and female. Male and female were accused of witchcraft. And it got crazier as as time went on, you would see a lot of the rich people would consult with witch doctors. Rich people would go to the hoodoo lady and the hoodoo man and ask them for their protection and their help. Some of them would even ask for financial advice from these hoodoo people and what should they do with their money, and ask them as far as like fortune telling and things of that nature. Um and a lot of the slave masters would keep secrets for the slaves, and they wouldn't tell people like, hey, my slaves practice that hoodoo stuff. They wouldn't tell that because they were using them. They were using them for their, esoteric information and knowledge that they can give them. And they were and hoodoo is more like mostly hoodoo is about healing. Hoodoo is mostly about like herbal healing and protection and things of that nature. So when they got sick, they would go to the hoodoo man. A lot of rich people would think that somebody, when they would get sick, they would think that somebody did something to them and they need to be protected from it. And so the hoodoo person, to gain the master's trust, what they would do is they would give them a home remedy that would knock the sickness away. And you got this rich slave master thinking that this person just broke a spell. And so this was very influential during this time period. Um, and they talk about, you have things like Roanoke, you have things that are you have the Roanoke situation, you have the Salem witch trials, you even have down south there were rituals being done with the Geechee Gullah, rituals being done with the Seminole Indians, to the point to where they had to befriend the Seminole Indians because the Seminole Indians revolted and there was a massacre of settlers. And so they ended up actually hiring Seminole Indians to catch runaway slaves. They had to befriend them because they knew they couldn't beat them. You come down here in these swampy marsh areas that we know how to navigate in better than you do. It was just like the same thing in Vietnam. You come over here in Vietnam, these people was in the jungle. They had traps set up everywhere. The Americans was not ready for that shit. And that's the same thing. So You know, I think that also you'll find the Trail of Tears will take place or have a part to play in this, because we already have the Lake of Tears. And so the Trail of Tears could definitely be significant to this, which there were many Indian tribes that were involved in the Trail of Tears, where they were usurped of their land and pretty much made to leave their properties and their homes and go to these, what we call today, urban cities. Um, so a lot of this happened. Now, again, these are very terrible blemishes on American history. And I think that they are bringing some light to these situations that happen. This is undeniable, right? So if you've been watching this channel and you see that this is undeniable, that this is correlated, right? And if you've been watching this channel, you know I've been talking about the Native American aspect. So yay for us. Like, I think this gives some credence to our theory, if anything. Now, there's nothing in that trailer. If you if you think this is aliens, there's nothing in that trailer that says anything about aliens. And I think that we'll see less and less clues that support a variety of different theories. I definitely do not think this has anything to do with Victor controlling this place. However, the fact that he needs to remember stuff does lend a little bit of credence. I would still, if that was one of my theories, I would still be hanging on to that, because Victor's talking about he has to remember stuff, you know. And but just finding out that he has a childhood home, that kills anything with people saying that Victor was born in this place and he's always been there, because I've seen that theory as well. So just seeing his baby pictures and him playing with his sister on the outside, that definitely demolishes that theory. With the trailer, we don't even got to watch the show. The trailer demolishes that theory. But then again, it could all be whatever. Like, some people were still thinking that Tabitha is not in the real world, and I'm doing air quotes. But let's look at the chat and see what some of you guys are saying. Julie says, this is absolutely undeniable that this is tied to the Puritans now after that trailer. Yes, it is. It's undeniable. And the way they showed it to us is crazy. Dig this. Peep how they showed that to us. They showed that to us with where is it at? They showed that to us with things that we already saw. Now, we didn't see these Siamese twin looking things. I think this is one person. Here we are again with the blood coming from the eyes. You got the blood coming from the eye of the Puritan, the blood coming from the eye of this thing. I think that this is a mirrored person. I think that this is one person. We see several drawings where Victor is drawing blood coming from the eyes. I think that this is one person right here. That would be crazy if this is Fatima. That would be crazy as hell. And Shorty saw that. But this is very familiar. What is this? This is the cave cages that the slow walkers, the baby slow walkers are in. From now on, I'm not calling them the I'm gooey kids. Even though they say I'm gooey. Somebody said they said I'm cooey, but I heard I'm gooey. Or that's what I'm sticking with. But I'm calling them from now on the baby slow walkers. I'm not calling them that any longer. I think that I've proven that that's what they are. The hands, the veins, the hairs coming off, and all of that. Also, we see bird cages. So we see bird cages right here. There's also a bird cage right here. So we see bird cages with no bird in it. So there's a bird cage here. Now, where else do we see bird cages? We see bird cages at Colony House. We see bird cages in the tunnels with the monsters. I think there was a couple other places where the Walker kids. So, okay. Baby slow walkers. I'm going with baby slow walkers. Baby slow walkers for the win. For sure. Baby slow walkers. Because that's what they are. They're the baby slow walkers. What is this painting right here? Can anybody make that painting out? What is that? This painting right here, you guys, right next to her arm. What is that? That looks like a big hole in the ground or something. I don't know. What is that? What did she paint right there? Is this a turtle? Is this a turtle? Now we know that the indigenous Niji of this country, who were the original Americans, the copper colored races found here by the Europeans and Ponce de Leon, the original Niji called this place Turtle Island. Okay. I don't know if anybody knows about that. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of people in the chat that are aware of that information and are hip to that knowledge. I think there's another turtle on the show as well. There was a turtle toy somewhere. I remember seeing a turtle. But America was originally called or nicknamed Turtle Island. It could be a turtle or a crow. It could be a crow. Uh, but I'm definitely over here cooking with this. I see the viewership is going up again. I see that. Y'all coming back or y'all just getting here? Holler in the chat. I left it open for all people. You don't have to be a subscriber. Talk to us. Give us your theories. Does anybody want to come up here and present something? I'll put the link out for you. I'll send you the link. Let's see here. Alyssa just got here. She's in the building. The people in Frumlin are living in a bird cage. That's very dope. I like that idea. I kind of look at it like they're living in a spider web. Like they're stuck in a web, like, and no matter how much you try to get out, it just gets harder and harder for you to get out. Now, I've seen insects fight their way up out of there, but man, it's really hard for them. And that's what we see our residents going through, led by the fearless Mr. Fish and Loaves. Boyd is okay. So I like Boyd as the character. That's my favorite character. But Jade has my favorite lines. Jade's wit and humor, like the joke that he said to Bacta in the in the gas station or the bar, I guess. The joke that he said to her, he was like, "How great could their lives have been anyway? They're riding on a bus." And she looked at him like, "You asshole," but then she starts laughing at it. Like Jade has the best lines, but nah, Mr. Fish and Loaves does too. He has some good lines, you know. Um, Donna has some great lines as well. Uh, when Boy said that he saw Abby, Donna said, "Did she look good?" Well, no, she said, "Well, how she look?" You know what I'm saying? Yo, that was hilarious. Like Donna has some great lines, you know. Um, but Donna is very suspect. Let's talk about suspect Donna for a minute. And we talk about this, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, the real Enigma choir right now. We all think that there's something up with Donna. And I'm gonna tell you right now, don't let that crying in the trailer and shit like that and all that. Don't let that fool you. You know, I seen somebody say, if Donna's crying, then you know this shit's got to be bad. Nah, I could see Donna crying and just busting out into this like real maniacal sounding laugh. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that um when Donna breaks her cover. When Donna breaks her cover, I think that she knows some things. Now, let's talk about baby girl for a minute. We got to talk about baby girl. And I know y'all probably like, who the fuck is baby girl? Baby girl is Fatima. That's what you call baby girl when she's pregnant. That's baby girl. She's got to be dealt with, handled with care and whatnot. And Donna seems to be the one that tries to provide that care for her. Donna's laugh was creepy as fuck when Fatima said she was pregnant. The laugh that Donna did was creepy. I'm sorry. Now, what's going on with Fatima's pregnancy, guys? What's going on with Fatima's pregnancy? Someone says, okay. Ricardo says Fatima's a witch. I don't think she's a witch. I think she's a victim. And I think that Donna has orchestrated something to help Fatima get pregnant for the entity. And I think that the entity, oh, that's a great question. I think that the entity wants to be born through Fatima's child. I don't think that Fatima was outside during the chaos of the ambush at all. I think she was in the house experiencing an accelerated pregnancy. And I would love to see that. I think that's what we'll see. I think the pregnancy will take a toll on her body. And I think that Donna has orchestrated Fatima's healing so that she can become pregnant, so that this entity has a human life to enter into the world through, with Fatima as the vessel and the baby as the avatar or conduit, right? And I think that she'll have an accelerated pregnancy, but it won't stop there. I think that after the pregnancy, the baby will also grow at an accelerated rate. And I think that this baby will give Fatima visions, nightmares, all kinds of shit will go on with this baby. It's already given Ellis nightmares. And I think that Donna, in order to like help them out a little bit, that's why she gave Fatima the dream catcher, because she knew the plan. And the look on Donna's face when Fatima told her she was pregnant, she gave this laugh like, oh my God, it worked. It worked. Like, that's the kind of vibe that she brought to the table. Okay. This dude says Ellis is the baby. Okay. So do you mean Elgin or do you mean Ellis? Because I know the theory about Elgin being the baby. And that's why he helped his dad get to the thing and all of that. I don't know about that. Anybody want to come up here and, you know, state their premise? I would love to hear it. We've got 83 people in here. If you want to come in here and state your premise and what your thoughts are, I can put the link down here in the chat and you can come on up. Here's the link. And you can come on up and state your premise. And let's hear what you got and let's hear where you're coming from. Also, when women are pregnant, we tend to have really vivid dreams. That's what the Chocolate Beauty says. Chocolate Beauty says when women are pregnant, they tend to have really vivid dreams. And I think that they will definitely tap into that. The StreamYard link is up, y'all. If you want to come up here and talk, you can do so. If you'd like me to put the call-in number, let me know. I can get the call-in number for you. Get that up. Either way, we're live. It's Saturday Night Live. We're in here cooking. We're going to do this the real way. Okay. Jessica O says she had very vivid dreams during her pregnancy. So I think, like I said, the showrunners I think this baby might not necessarily be Ellis's baby. It might be the entity. This might be the entity trying to figure out a way into existence as far as living in a human avatar. I think the accelerated pregnancy theory is valid. I think the accelerated pregnancy theory has a little bit of juice to it. It has some electricity. You think Fatima got pregnant in the Brundles? By whom? I'm a shy baby about being on there, but someone should do it. Would you like me to put the call-in number in? If you want to call in, I can put the number in there so you can call in. Or you can click that link down there, the StreamYard link, and just come on up. I think if I don't even think we got some jokes in here. Julie says I can join with the StreamYard link in a few minutes. That would be dope if you want to join. That would be wild in a mind-blowing way. Yeah. That would be wild. What was what's the movie? It was on, I seen it on Amazon where dude and his girl was looking for a house and this guy takes him out there. He's showing them the house and then he runs outside and leaves them there. And then they're like stuck on the block. They can't find their way out. And they just it's almost like From. Yes, indeed. Good night, Beverly. Good night, Beverly. It was great having you here. Shout out to Beverly. She definitely is in the chat and greets people as they come in, as all the moderators do, and I appreciate that. That's one of the moderators' jobs. If you're a moderator and you weren't here earlier, I'd like to have a meeting with all the moderators. You can email me at realenigmasandtheories@gmail.com. Yes, Vivarium. Vivarium also it had like the Pac-Man road where you drive down and you end up back where you came from. But it also had the accelerated pregnancy. It also had the accelerated pregnancy. So the accelerated pregnancy along with the accelerated growth of the baby And that baby was creepy. That baby was super creepy. And I think that we might see a little bit of that, a little bit of vivarium and from, and that would be fire. But it would, in vivarium, there was like that baby was just like a thing of its own, like some sort of alien baby. But in this, I think that the entity will come through and try to live in this baby, and they're gonna have some sort of like s- compassion for it because it's a baby. Are you receiving any super chats? No, haven't received any super chats in the Cash App or on. I've received one super chat. I did receive one super chat for $2 earlier, but we definitely. Oh, okay. So just so you guys know, and just to be a little transparent, for the trip, we've already raised $200, and so we've raised $200, and that's in Cash Apps and super chats. So those will be going towards the trip and the documentary as well. So if you guys again want to support, it was here. It was a super chat. Hey, there's another super chat. Kaylee, thank you. I'm glad you love the videos. I love creating these videos for you guys, y'all. Like I love digging into this show. This show spoke to me. Um, you know, and it continues to speak to me. Now this trailer has come out and it's definitely breathed new life into all of our theories. Some of our theories are on life support, but it definitely brought me back. Yes, and we did get some memberships earlier. Yes, Dana gifted some memberships and those will go directly to the trip as well. I'm keeping track of that stuff and I will update you on how much we have raised, how much money we've raised. Of course, I know I'm gonna put like a bulk of the money and pay for a bulk of it myself, but I would love to get some help from you guys as a level of inspiration to go on this trip to just to know that you guys really want to see this happen. You know what I mean? And see this documentary. The documentary is going to be based on from. It's not going to be necessarily all about like the history aspects. We're going to make the connections. We're also going to be doing some live streams while we're on the trip. And we added a different Dana just now. Yo, super chat. Yeah, that's what's up. Super chat. Yeah, that's what's good. I got to get some sort of like notification ring. Thank you, Dana. Thank you very much for everything you do. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for building with me and showing me the way on StreamYard. It's very much appreciated. Y'all go check out Dana's channel. Also, if I could have one of my mods throw Dana's Discord link in the chat as well. She does Dungeons and Dragons, which is really dope. Um, I, I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. However, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the '80s, I used to watch that faithfully on Saturday. I loved that cartoon when I was young. I remember that, and it was like one of the last cartoons before wrestling came on. When wrestling came on, it was time for me to go outside and play. But yeah, uh, some of these shows partner with YouTubers. That would be crazy if From shouted me out. Um I have definitely talked to several of the actors. Um I really can't say what some of the stuff we talked about, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with my theories being right or anything. But we've talked about some stuff off the cuff, okay? And we did just yo, that's what's up. We just got a $5 cash app. So now we're at like two and some change. I'll count it all up and let everybody know where we're at. This is gonna be fun. It's gonna happen anyway, But it's gonna be a real dope trip. Get to go check out a new place. I've never even thought about going to Newfoundland. I want to do some other traveling in America as well. I want to I want to go to the site of the Fort Pillow massacre. I want to go to Jamestown, Virginia, check out some of these sites. If there is any historical stuff there that I can look at and bring it back to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Bring it back to the channel for the people that have been checking out the show and digging my theories, that are watching these theories come to fruition here on the show. Definitely want to, show some love to the people that are loving what I'm doing, because I love doing this. I mean, we all do this. All the YouTubers, we do this for views, but that's not really the reason. But we all do it for views. Everyone wants their stuff to be seen, right? But the main reason for me doing this is I like to bring history to the people. I like to bring a different perspective of how to watch TV shows. Um, I watch, I'm going to tell you, a lot of TV shows and a lot of movies have some of this same stuff in it. If you watch The Changeling is about settlers coming over here, the Norwegians coming over here, and bringing their deity with them. And that's kind of like what I'm thinking From is hinting on. Like, people coming over here, the settlers coming over here, they brought their deity with them, or their magic with them, and it clashed with the people that were already here. We know that they clashed. So are we to say that these people just fought and they didn't use magic and they didn't try to use spells against their enemies? Of course they were doing that. That's what they did back then. That's what they believed in. Those were their customs and cultures. They had stuff set in place. They had protection spells. What did they have protection spells for if they weren't going to use them when it was time to go? Even when you look at the Changeling, they talk about the movie Columbo, um, and it talks about how the slaves used Santeria to fight against the Portuguese. So the Brazilians were using they were using magic to fight against the Portuguese. So this is just like what it is. Like, I think that the show clearly talks about this when it showed us the talismans. When you look at where Boyd found those talismans, they look like Native American stone mounds. Okay, let's see. In your super chat, you said you were saying he should research Boyd's Cove in Canada. Yes. Taran brings up Boyd's Cove is in his theory. That's crazy. Boyd's Cove is definitely in his theory. He talked about that. I remember him mentioning that. So yes, and once again, Bank Run, thanks for the super chat. It is definitely appreciated. Um, Supporting the channel is dope. I don't really see you too much in these live streams. But if you can, come on in more. If you want to come up here, the link is out there. Let me put it in the chat again, just in case somebody does want to come up here and build with me. Give me a little pushback on my theory. I love the pushback. I love the pushback because I like to hear people's um pull up in VA. We have the Jamestown and Yorktown. Yes, indeed. I will pull up in VA. My people are from VA. My people are from all over VA. My people are Powhatan, and that is who actually was fighting those um those settlers. That's who was fighting the Puritans, were the Powhatans. And they, they're all through Virginia. As a matter of fact, that whole situation is what led to the situation of Pocahontas that we know of. With, I think it was, what's his name, James Smith. That's who saved those people. He worked out a deal with the Indians that got those people some food. These people was walking around barefoot because they ate their shoes. Now, they used cowhide to make the leather back then for the shoes. So it's not totally inedible, but I mean, damn. When you think shoes, you start thinking like shoe polish and shit like that. Like, I doubt they had shoe polish on their shits back then. I know. But like, yeah, just look at the guy. Where's he at? The picture of the guy. Imagine eating some shoes like these. Imagine having to eat these. Like, yeah, you gonna have all kinds of serious doo-doo going on. You take a bite out of these shoes and you had to eat those shoes. I mean, think about it. These dudes had to eat horses, shoes, rats. They ate their pets, and then they started eating the dead. And just having to stop and eat a pair of these shoes is crazy. Like, yo, you eating shoe soup. This dude looked like he was already chewing on his shit. He ate the shoelaces. Yo, how come these don't have any laces in them? Uh-oh. Hey, hey, hey. No laces, y'all. Does that sound familiar? No laces in these shoes. And we got a bracelet made out of shoelaces or bootlaces. So is that connected? Could that be connected? I mean, this is the face that I'm making when I think about the shoes. Here's another one that I was thinking about earlier today. Yo, what is this big ass rock? It looks like somebody dipped it in Kool-Aid. What happened to the rock, yo? Now, is this the rock that fell on the dude that he saw in the root cellar? Could that be that rock? It looks about the size. The size is about right. Is Jade's visions are Jade's visions coming together, or is he getting more visions? Is he getting more visions? Are the visions connected in some way? Because I mean, this rock is about as big as the rock that was on the guy inside of the root cellar. Jade's seeing something. This is something else here. But I think that is very significant about the shoelaces. That's interesting. I'm not saying that those are his shoelaces, and I'm not saying that the laces that belong to these shoes are what was used to make the bracelet. However, it's possible and it's definitely worth keeping in the back of our minds. You see how that works here? We put the magnifying glass on, and next thing you know, we see something that's a possible clue. But yeah, guys, this guy's a Puritan, and it looks like he went through the starving time. It looks if you were to say that this dude was starving, I'd be like, well, yeah, he is. I wouldn't disagree with you at all with that. He doesn't look like he's had the best of times. So could this have something to do with the starving time? Okay. And his eye, yo, look at how grainy and everything becomes when you try to zoom in on it. I've never seen a trailer do that. Usually when they drop a trailer, they drop that shit in 4K. It gives more info into the Beothuck and the region when you search by Boyd's Cove. Okay. The boulder is what causes the vision when Jade touches it. Woo! Yo, Carrie be going crazy. Carrie be going crazy because yes, the vision started when Jade touched the tree. So I can totally see when Jade touched that boulder, the vision comes and starts when he touches the boulder. I can totally see that. Now, I just want to point out that these two hats are different hats. This hat here that he has on is a different hat than what we see this person wearing. I think whoever, I think this is Christy wearing a hat, and she is who stepped in that bear trap, and he's kneeled down to help her. I think that he does help her. I don't think that anything happens to her, but they get her home. They get him home. They get her home, and she does whatever. She might even stay up at Colony House or something, uh, and heal real fast. But Carrie, yes, good catch. He touches the boulder and the vision starts. Remember that Carrie said that so that when it happens and we get to that part and that happens, we need to definitely give Carrie her flowers for that one. Because I can totally see that happening. Um, in the vision in the root cellar, it doesn't seem like anything kind of started that, right? I don't think the vision in the root cellar started it. Um, I think he just went down there and just had that vision. Did he touch the door and open that closet and then he saw that in there? Because then that could be the case. Because there's definitely something enchanted about that room. The ballerina came up from out of there as well. So there's something about that room for sure. The faraway tree sent Julie there. Jade is a visionary, says Jay Sleek. Yes, indeed, he is. Gothic Chick says probably sacrificed an eye like Odin. Yes, there's a lot of one eye symbolism. And this being one of Jade's, I don't think this dude is alive. That's another thing Tony and I debated. This dude does not look alive, y'all. This looks like a vision of something. And the Civil War soldier had one eye burnt. There was a lot of one eye symbolism there as well. So yeah, I don't think that Jade is encountered someone that is real or living. Um However, you do see him attacking him. You do see him choking Jade. The thing, yes, Jade was touching the door. Okay, so he did touch that door. So he touched the door. He touched the tree. He didn't touch anything when he saw the ventriloquist dummy and the symbol just come in blood on the wall. Nothing was touched there, but the chick had just left, and so I don't know. But I could definitely see him touching this boulder and then the vision starting. I am. I don't know what's going on with the hat. Maybe the vision starts, and while he's having a vision, he sees a little. It might be like a two-part vision or something. He sees something, and it goes away. Girlie's walking up to see what's going on with Jade, and she steps in the bear trap. He kneels down to help her, and then sees another vision or a continuation of the vision. Okay, so what did Dana say? What if the wooden door in the cellar were made from faraway tree? That's why people can come through it. That's a very good question right there. That's a great theory. That room is that room that room is where the main entity is trapped. He played a trick and it backfired. Jade and Victor need to talk about that dummy. Oh yes, indeed. They definitely need to all of them need to sit down and talk and compare all of their notes. And I think we'll start to see some of that in the third season for sure. I think we'll start seeing some things. Boyd's pep talk, he talked about how he said, "Hey, we're still in this thing and we can win, but we have no idea what we're dealing with." So he's like breaking it down to him that we really don't know. And so I think everybody is going to start talking, or not everybody, but people are going to start talking. One thing that's worth note is Sarah and Victor are talking and exchanging information. I'm sure that their conversation was a lot more than what we saw in the trailer. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're talking and sharing information. And I can tell you, Sarah would be a real good person to share information with because she can actually speak to these things herself. Yes, indeed. So we're gonna rock out for a couple more minutes here. Julie's here. Julie, how you doing? You there?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Julie, how you doing? You there?
Oh, I need to turn down my volume. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. I can. Everybody hear Julie out there? How does Julie sound? How you doing today, Julie?
Yeah, oh, I see the problem. I've got the stream on in another tab. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
I had the stream open in the other tab and it started playing. But you can hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great.
We have Justin
Great.
in the building. Peace and wellness. Jay Sleek is in the building. Dr. Deb, Alyssa, Rainbow. Yes. What is this? Chicago Made Gaming and Media. I think Christy and Kenny's mom die among others. That would be crazy. I'm for sure I'm sold on Tien Chen passing away for sure. Sold on that. But I don't know about Christy. That would be crazy. Somebody said, was the pilgrim drinking Christie's blood in the skull? That would be sick. I doubt that though. I totally think that he is a vision of Jade's. And I don't think Christy or whoever Jade is kneeling helping is seeing what Jade is seeing.
Right. I think the red hat thing that you were talking about, that's really confused the hell out of me because they look so identical, but they must have different hats. I can't understand why. I can't think of any other explanation, and somehow
Yeah,
the hat
I
came
couldn't
off.
see. You're right. I can't see somebody saying, hey, your leg's caught in a bear trap. Here, put my hat on.
Right?
Like, that just doesn't make sense. But
No.
then we have Dr. Deb in the building who actually knits, and she confirmed that the hats are two different knitting patterns.
Oh, nice.
And I noticed that early in the game. Like, we could even pull it up here. Let me see. Where is the Where is that promotional?
And you know
thing?
they did this on purpose to confuse us. Like,
Oh yeah,
that was intentional.
big time. And it's clear that they're not the same.
When you look at them side by side, it's clear now.
It gets clear. Those hats are not the same hats.
No,
You
definitely not.
know, but I think that it's Christy who definitely steps in the bear trap.
I agree. Yeah, she's the only one that wears those leg warmer looking things or whatever they are around her ankles.
Right. She got her pants tucked in her socks and all that.
Right.
Like a Puritan.
Yeah.
Like a
Um,
Puritan, which is crazy though, right?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so and here, okay, so here is her hat. This hat and this hat are the same. Or no. I'm not sure. It looks like the ribs on this hat are like flat. And it looks like the ribs on the other one are kind of uh fat and bubble. It's like they kind of bubble out a little bit. But yeah, those are different hats. Those are different hats. I'm sold on that. For
Right.
sure, these are different hats.
Yeah, those are definitely. I don't know about that other one. It's so confusing, and I thought maybe it was a lighting issue because I mean, no one else is seen wearing a red hat, and in that other picture of the shorter person, I thought it had to be Christy.
Well, he was picking in the birds and kept calling them ugly. Then he tried to trick a boulder by trading a blanket for directions. But after he was told the directions, he came back and I'm lost on that comment. That she's talking to somebody else there. That's the one that's missing the eye now, girl, who left Jade when he seen the dog. Clara is her name. The one that has the eye patch on.
Right. It's Clara.
Yes, good to see you, my brother Justin. You're in the building tonight. We in here rocking and rolling, cooking and building. Rainbow. Would the dummy be like the music box in season 3? I doubt it. I doubt that.
Yeah, I
But
don't think so.
the ventriloquist dummy, um, the ventriloquist dummy definitely has some sort of significance to the monsters, I think. And I think that I think that the visions with that will get I wouldn't be surprised if that thing talks this season, which would be
That would be
crazy as
awesome.
hell.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yes. Everybody's greeting the girl with the one eye, more connections. Yes, Julie's here. She sounds fine. Took the blanket. So in one folklore story, the boulder ran over him, and in another Native American story, the birds flapped their wings to cause the boulder to move. Oh, okay, so she's talking about like an actual Indian story or parable. Dope. Yes, the skull looks too small to be an adult skull, so we're talking child sacrifice.
I
And
agree.
they're doubling down on child sacrifice because I mean we seen what was going on with the baby slow walkers.
Right.
So they've doubled down on fucked up shit happening to kids. Yeah,
Exactly.
after the tower fell, the glass from the light bulbs cut her eye. Yes, it did.
Yeah. Yeah, what is this theme in the show of injuries to one eye or one eye being missing? It keeps popping up again.
Okay. So Chicago made gaming and media says that Pilgrim is a cannibal laying the traps out that's living in the cabin. Okay.
That's what
I've
Tony thinks. I
I've heard
disagree.
that theory. I've
Yeah.
heard that theory. And Tony said the same thing.
Yep.
And he says that they take and kidnap Christy and
Right.
take her back to them cabins.
Yeah.
Now, that could be possible. However, I just don't think that this guy's walking around with a bloody eye with them dirty clothes on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, they say like if you partake in cannibalism, you kind of go crazy and shit. So if it is a person that's partaking in that, then he's probably crazy and he probably wouldn't care about the clothes that he has on. But if it's a living person, that would mean that he saw those clothes and was like, yo, look at this Puritan drip. I think I'm gonna throw some of this Puritan drip on it and hit the streets real quick and see what I can find out here. So I don't know. There's a lot of variables that would have to make that guy living to me.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense. It just I just think it's a blatant sign that it's a vision when you see the dated clothing. He's already had the vision of a Civil War soldier attacking him. It just makes sense with his clothing and the eye missing. I mean, the fact that Jade is the one looking at it, it's to me it's a dead giveaway. And I agree with, I think it was Carrie who said that the vision started when he touched that rock. I think that triggers it.
Yes, indeed. We got Dana in the building as well. She's up here with us. Anybody else want to come up? Y'all can hop up on that link. And I think we can get 10 people in here.
Yep,
So
you
you
can have
guys,
10 people up on stage.
yeah, you guys can come on up and let's have a good time. Uh
What's up?
I can't claim credit for that, and I'm blanking on who it was that explained it to us. Great observation. What was Dr. Deb talking about right there? Let me look up and see. The bracelets are not the same either, trust me. So she's saying that the bracelets aren't the same. I think the bracelets are the same.
I do too.
I
Yeah.
think
I
the
do too.
bracelets are the same. Because why would they show us the bracelet? It's not like any of the characters realize that. That was just the audience realizes that. We realize that those bracelets are the same. The it's not like Victor saw Jim wearing the bracelet and was like, "Hey, that's my mom's bracelet." You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that Victor's the one who found his mom. I don't think that he would have kept his mom's violin, but then given away her bracelet to the storage room. And
Nah.
if you look at where Tabitha found the bracelet, it's right on the top of all the rest of the bracelets. It's not like she had to take any other ones off to get to it or anything. It was right on the top. So
What?
when was it put there? When how did it get in the storage room? That's the big question for me. How did it get to Miranda? I kind of think that I figured that part out. I think it gets there by way of some sort of dream state, just
I
like how
totally
the torch,
agree.
yeah, just like how the torch traveled and all of that. But I don't think I don't I don't know how it got into the storage room, and I just don't see Victor giving away his mom's bracelet.
I mean, my guess would be it just in the struggle and the commotion that she went through trying to get out. I just figure the bracelet fell off. Eventually, somebody found it, and it ends up in the storage uh, container. I mean, Victor wouldn't have put it there. He would have held on to it, but I don't know. Maybe it just lay there until someone else came into town. We don't know how long Victor was alone. he said a long time. We don't know if that's a couple years, several months. I mean, to a kid, months alone would be a long time. So at some point, someone else came in. I figure they found the bracelet and they put it in the storage room. That would be my opinion.
But isn't the bigger
Okay, so he
question?
said Chicago made gaming. Chicago says the leg in the wheelbarrow was mangled. Now, the thing about the leg in the wheelbarrow being mangled is the fact that wherever they are is where this bear trap is, but they're all the way in town with the cart. And we see the monsters always rip a leg off. They always rip a leg off somebody. And I think that now I just want to point this out. We have not seen these monsters get busy one time. The most we've seen them do is with Father Kotri. That's all. Now we've seen the aftermath. We've seen the ribs all exposed and the leg torn off, and we've seen all of that, and they always leave the face intact. But we have not seen them actually like tear one of them up. And I think we're gonna see them tear Miss Lou up. I think they're gonna
What about
show
the
it to her.
dude in the box?
Yeah, but see, they show them come through the box and then they cut right away. We never see them get busy.
Right. It's true.
Yeah, they didn't even show it, you know.
But
Okay, so
also going
Justin
back
says
to
it's
the
probably the
bracelet.
same hat, it's just the lighting on the shot. No, it's definitely not the lighting. Those are two different knitting patterns.
Yeah.
Oh, we have somebody that knit. Dr. Deb knits. And she said that those, I forget what she said. Like she said one was pearl 2 and one is pearl 3.
Right. You can see they're wider, like I don't know how to describe them, but like
The ridges.
yeah, the
The
ridges are
ribs. I
wider.
call them ribs. I think that's what they're actually called. These things here, like the ribs, they're called ribs.
Yeah.
And the ribs are the space in between the ribs on Christie's hat are very wide and flat. On Jade's hat, they're very thin. They're
Right.
very narrow, and the ribs are fatter, and they're kind of like closer together. I don't know the actual terminology. I think I said that right. Dr. Deb could let us know in the comments. But I think she said pearl 3 and pearl 2. I've heard that before, but I don't knit, so I don't know. She always appears in the background. Oh, he must be talking about Clara.
Oh yeah.
Yes. She always pops up in the like craziest of places. Like even when everybody was thinking about who the mole could be, like I know Donna stands out for a lot of people, but think about it. Like that chick always is just she's always in the background somewhere. She's always popping up in the most like convenient places. If anybody screams mole, I always thought of her.
Yeah, but she doesn't do anything significant. Like
Exactly.
if someone said that Dale was the mole, I wouldn't really argue with that because Dale actually he's on some bullshit sometimes. Like he kind of went back and forth with Ellis and got knocked out by Donna. And he actually stabs Ellis. So he's done things that are actually significant to the storyline.
Yeah, but as a mole,
The girl
you
Clara,
don't
you
want to
could take
stand
out
out.
all of her parts. You could take out all of her parts and nothing in the story changes besides the shit that happens to her. Her bike gets
But
taken by Jade and
yeah,
she gets
no, like I get that, but it's like the mole's not supposed to stand out. They're supposed to be a wallflower. Like you're not supposed to know they're there. So yeah, you take her out and she's not there in a sense, but that's kind of like a mole's job. They're not supposed to be a standout. They're not supposed to they're just supposed to kind of sit back, watch, lurk, and gather the information they need to go back and take it wherever they need to take it. So that's why, like,
No,
I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
can agree. Yo, yeah, I can agree with that. I see what you're saying. No, for real. Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. And I'll even do you one better, right? She right after she leaves is when Jade has a vision. I think that's the only vision where he didn't have to touch something in order to have the vision, was the vision that where she was there,
Mhm.
which is very significant. That's kind of significant. Um she's like she it's almost like her leaving cued the vision to happen. So no, I'm not mad at you on that one for sure. Like I definitely can see it. To me,
Right?
it would
Like, I
make
don't know.
more
She's
sense with
just
somebody like Dale being in there. Now I forget who was telling me this. I heard somebody tell Tony was telling me this, that Dale wasn't gonna be in the third season. So what I'm thinking, like, what the fuck they gonna do? Kill him? 'Cause that would be kind of corny if they. It would be cool if they killed him like during the massacre or something like that, or he got killed or whatever,
Mhm.
you know. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
heard he got a part on another show, and that could have happened because of the strike, because he's Canadian, so he wasn't affected. So he might have just taken another gig that conflicted with the From schedule
okay.
when
I
it
think you
started again.
told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you were telling me that. Yeah, Julie told me that. That
yeah,
wasn't Tony.
yep.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
that's, I don't know. Dale would have been a good, like, it would have been kind of satisfying if Dale and Donna were working together as moles or something. That would be,
Mhm.
or Dale, Donna, and Clara.
Like
That
that
would
would be
be
cool.
crazy.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? If you had like a team and they were all kind of working together, you know.
I can see that. I have a bias. I love Donna. So I always just,
Oh,
Donna
Donna's
cannot be the
suspect.
mole. I
Donna's
know, but Donna
suspect.
cannot be the mole.
Yeah,
I have
Don.
a
But see,
bias.
that's the real mole. That's the one that you wouldn't, the one that would actually make you feel betrayed. You see,
Oh
that's
yeah,
who.
I see it. I see it. I just,
And she's always got her hands in her pocket. That's something that I pointed out last year, and I see a lot of people kind of picked up on that. Like,
yeah,
yeah, she's always got her hands in her pocket, and that's deliberate. You know what I'm saying? And never
yep,
trust somebody with their hands always in their pocket, walking around talking to you and shit with their hands in their pocket. Like, what the fuck?
yep.
That's weird body language right there.
She
Like,
popped in.
I'm standing here talking to you with my hands in my pocket. And I'm like,
It is weird. Like
is it cold out here or what? Like, what the fuck you got your hands in your pocket for?
Boyd was in the church. I think it was when he had Sarah in the basement or something. I don't know, but Boyd was in the church and she just happened to pop in, like with her hands in her pockets.
Yeah. And she's like, oh yeah, like, yeah. You know, when somebody's got their hands in their pockets, they're trying to seem like they're not gonna touch anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, if you see somebody in the store with their hands in their pocket and you're a security guard or something like that, you're gonna keep an eye on that person. You're gonna be like, this
oh yeah,
motherfucker done picked up something,
oh yeah.
you
And you
know.
know who else? You know who else had her hands in her pockets when she was up to something? Sarah. Sarah had her hand in her pocket the whole episode. She was planning on trying to kill Ethan when she had that scalpel in her pocket. She had that in her
Yes,
pocket.
yes, indeed. That definitely. J J Ruiz says, rest in peace, Christy and Tien Chen. Okay. I'm not mad at that. I can get behind that. I know it's gonna be Tien Chen for sure. And that's
me
sad
too.
to see because if y'all know my theories, y'all know I pegged her as the lonely dragon.
Yeah,
And her passing away is gonna end up making Kenny the lonely dragon.
this is gonna be
Which,
brutal.
yeah, I think this the first time we see one of these monsters get busy is gonna be on Miss Lou. And it's gonna be on that cow.
Oh,
And that's how we know that that's the day after that whole ambush, is because the cow is laying in the middle of the road.
Yep.
That's
Yes.
how you know. So I saw somebody saying they were talking about that video we were talking about. I didn't get a chance to really watch the video and what the guy was saying, but they said that the guy was saying that the night that the 2 times you see those 4 slow walkers is not the same night. I beg to differ on that one because you could see the ambulance lights coming on them. And then you see the ambulance in the background and then they're walking up towards it. I mean, they're walking towards. Then you see somebody dead in the background too. So, yeah, that's all the same night. I guarantee you that. That's
But
all
I
the
was
same
also
night.
telling Sophiel and Julie the other night in the chat that we were just talking, and I was like, there's still a possibility that there's people in that ambulance we didn't see. Because I know we see the cop and we see the one dead person on the floor, but
Right.
there's
So there
also a
could be like 2
possibility
people.
that
There
there's
could be
more
2 people.
people in that ambulance.
Right. Yeah, there could be a passenger. There could have been a patient or somebody that needed medical attention
Along
that
with an
just had an
additional
unlucky
EMT.
ride to the damn. They just caught the most unlucky ride ambulance in the world.
Yeah, because I was telling them
Johnson
out
says it seems
here.
like Justin says it seems like the dummy was alive with the spirit when it moved its head looking at Elgin. Okay, so I want to point out that when you see Elgin and you see that dummy, they're not together.
Right. It
The
might not be.
the dummy is sitting in a chair somewhere and Elgin is sitting in the kitchen at Colony House. But the dummy, you
Yeah,
can look at the chair, is not it's not there where Elgin's having that. Now Elgin might be seeing something, or somebody might be telling him something, or he might be telling someone else something. But those 2 clips are not from the same scene.
no,
Yeah.
agreed.
Jay Sleek
I think
says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna just read a couple of these. They're backing up on me here. I'm gonna get a couple of
it's
these out
okay.
the
Go
way real
ahead.
quick." Jay called Jay called the birds ugly. Wow, when he first came, he kept saying that the people were beautiful also. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. I think that was a clue. When he's talking about Boyd and has the beautiful face and talks about Christy and Cautry's face. And yeah, I think that there's something up with that in the way that Jay was seeing people. I think it has I think it's something more. I think it's not so much about him being high and just getting in an accident. I think that that line has some sort of significance. Um, when all right, so you have Christy and you have the Christy or Christos or Christ. Then you have Boyd, who is Mr. Fish and Loaves, and that's Christ. And then you have the priest, who is Cautry, were all called beautiful by Jade. Jade said all 3 of them were beautiful. He was like, "Look at your faces. Oh my God, you're so beautiful." And
Yeah.
you know,
Interesting. It seems so
says you have
random.
right, and it was random. However, look at the 3 people who he said it to. You have Christy, who's like a Jesus archetype. Someone left a comment about the Christianity aspects of the show. I had talked about this before. This was a great comment. He had a couple other things in there, but I had already put the Christy together with the Christ and her girlfriend being Mary. So you got the Christ and Mary situation right there. Mr. Fish and Loaves is a reference to Jesus Christ. You know, and then you have a priest. So you have 3 of the characters that um are reminiscent of the Christian aspect of the show right there, and he's calling all 3 of them beautiful. I thought that was crazy. So and he calls the birds ugly. Okay. So let's see. Yes, an actual Native American folklore that only supposed to be told during the winter. So I think we will get a lot of answers this season. Yes, indeed. So that she was answering the question on what I was talking about. Yeah. I think I remember that folklore of what you were talking about. As I was reading it, some of it was coming to mind. Welcome, bitter medicine. Yes, welcome, bitter medicine. Welcome, everyone. So the mods, y'all got the email address. Email me. I want to set up a meeting, see when a good time is, that we can all sit down and just have a chat. I won't take up much of your time. It's about 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And then you guys can ask me whatever you want to ask and we can go from there. Let me see. Chicago says his shoes. Chocolate Beauty says the all-seeing eye. Chocolate Beauty be
Ooh.
hitting. Chocolate Beauty,
Ooh.
let me know if you know you. I think you know about the Niji. I think I saw you talking about the copper colored races before. That is they're definite the Niji. They're talking about the Niji on this show for sure, especially when they show the Black Civil War soldier, because the Black Civil War soldier could have been only one of two. He was a free man or he was a freed man. And so everybody, I don't know if everybody knows about the difference between freemen and freedmen during slavery. Freedmen were men that went through a process with the Freedmen's Bureau. So they had some sort of like reintegration into or integration into regular society from slavery. And they had to go through the Freedmen's Bureau in order to do so and get this schooling and knowledge in order to function in normal society, so to speak, with like home ownership and rent and food and all that kind of stuff. You're taking care of all of that stuff yourself now. And so they went through the Freedmen's Bureau. Now, most of the freemen, they were never classified as Negro. They were always classified as American. As a matter of fact, you can look up in the Webster's Dictionary of 1862's Webster's Dictionary, the definition of American was the copper colored races found here by the European, which is now applied to the children of the European born in America. So that means that the people that were found here by the Europeans were called Americans. That was the term that was used to identify them. And they speak on that in this show. This show definitely touches on that whole nuance. What else we have here? Jay Sleek says the main entity, the originator, called the birds ugly. But yes, Jade kept saying beautiful. Oh no, she was saying this to Jay Sleek. That really stood out to me. Yes, that stood out to me as well. Chicago says it's possible that the writers are implementing the Native American curse for the people eating people like Wendigos. Wendigos.
Wendigos. That's Scarlett's big theory. Scarlett really believes that
Yes, I
Wendigos
saw
play a big
Scarlett
part.
talking about that. That's heavy. That's heavy. Not Cannibal Village. The beanies. The cap embroidery. I think Christy and Kenny's mom died in season 3. Yeah, everybody's saying that Christy's going too. I think we might get Christy up out of here. I seen somebody saying that they're gonna get Christy up out of here because she's a doctor and now Mari's a doctor. But Mari's not a doctor. Mari's actually a nurse.
Yeah.
Right.
So she's not a doctor. So she's not, she's medical personnel, but she's not a doctor. All right, let's see here. Gothic Chick said there's a difference between pilgrims and Puritans. Yes. Puritans are descendants of the pilgrims, however. Yes, indeed. But there is a difference between them. You saw the mistake on Miranda's bracelet. What was the mistake again for you visual see it? For you to visual see it. I think she meant visually see it. You saw the mistake on Miranda's bracelet? No, I didn't see the mistake. What was the mistake again for you to visually see it?
I don't think it would be possible to see it.
I didn't see the mistake. However, Tabitha does mention what the mistake is on the
Yes.
bracelet. She does say what the mistake is. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it would have been impossible to identify that same mistake.
Right.
However, there's a part where Tabitha does confirm that Tien Chen is the lonely dragon because she says she's sitting there at the table and she's spinning the bracelet around. So we do get to see every aspect of the bracelet because she's spinning it on the table. And Ethan comes in and says, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm just looking at this piece of Lonely Dragon's treasure." So she pegged Tien Chen because that's where she got it from. Because Tien Chen is who let them go in there. She asked them, could they come in there and look for stuff? They went in there and found the bracelet. Let's look again. What happened to Christie's fiance? Well, she woke up with the other two, Julie and Randall. She woke up, and so we don't know what happens after that. Now, I was having a good discussion with Robert Saunders in Discord today, and um, we were talking about the three waking up and them having some information about what they saw while they were in the dungeon. And I think that Julie and Mari won't remember much, but I think Randall will. And I think that he's going to be the one that's like tapped in the most. If I'm not mistaken, he was the first one they took. He was the
Yeah.
first one that got the cicada. And if we look at him, he definitely has a different demeanor.
Yep.
He seems
does.
to be telling the people that, hey, y'all worrying about dying. This place will do some more fucked up shit to you that is way worse than that. And I think that making he's trying to make the people a little overly cautious to raise awareness to what this place actually can do to you. And then the
Right.
last clue that I have that Randall is probably the one that remembers things from that dungeon dream is the fact that we still see that he has some lingering effects to it because we saw him on the ground patting itself down like how he was doing when the cicadas were attacking him. And maybe they're still lingering with him a bit or something, or he's affected by this for sure. But
Oh,
I think he's
definitely.
going to be the one with the information.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's not
yeah,
like
go
him
ahead.
to have that kind of demeanor, like the dropping wisdom like that. He seems like he has a different attitude, and I thought it was interesting how it sounded a little bit like the kind of wisdom Martin dropped on Boyd. And Martin said, everyone thinks the monsters are the worst part, but they're just the tip of the spear. And then Randall says, everyone's afraid of dying, but I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen here. It's interesting. Like, that dream state seems to create insight. So I think he is going to have some wisdom and insight that he brought out of it that he'll remember.
Okay, yeah, and I think it's going to be him. When we see Marielle, we see her jumping into action, trying to help whoever that was
Right. In
at
Colony.
Colony House. It doesn't seem like her mind is affected by anything. Like she's still hopeful, right? She's still trying to help someone. We see Julie. Julie seems to be the same. We seen her crying, probably because the mom is gone.
Right.
But look at how she didn't really change much from how she was before, especially like when we see her try to slam the door on the monster and run. Like she seems to still be on point. Randall seems to be preoccupied mentally with something. Something's
Yeah.
fucking him up, you know.
Totally.
So yeah, I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and talk for a minute. I'm gonna do a couple of things over here. Break us down on a great build, Julie and Dana.
You were saying something earlier that I agreed with, Real. You were talking about how Fatima may still have an accelerated pregnancy, and I agree because Justin made a good point in the Discord, that trailers only cover usually just the first couple of episodes of a season, and we can't judge the whole season based off of that trailer. Just because Fatima doesn't look pregnant at all, that doesn't mean that in later episodes in the season she won't have an accelerated pregnancy. I still think she will. I think they need to pick off that storyline sooner rather than later and not drag it out, because they could wait till the end of the whole series. She still wouldn't be pregnant enough to have the baby at the rate of time that they're going. So
yeah,
I think they're going to go that route this season.
I do too. Just because if each season is been only a few days,
right?
Each season, it hasn't been a long period of time throughout the show, so Fatima would literally be pregnant the whole entire time if that were to be the case. And since the pregnancy is supernatural or magical in a sense to begin with, because Fatima made it very clear she was unable to have children, that it's definitely there's definitely something that's going to happen that's going to make it accelerated in some way. But I personally think that Fatima got pregnant somehow in her dreams, because we're talking about all the different representation and connections to dreams that this place has. I'm thinking that either the entity impregnated her within her dream, or something else impregnated her within her dream, and the entity might be able to use it as a gateway or a door, as a vessel. And that's why I think she's so important in a way.
Yeah, I agree. With all the references to dreams and the physical things that people can actually take out of dream states in this place, I think the same thing as you. That
now,
this is coming
when
from
the cicada popped out of the pot and it burnt Kenny, it was brought into their quote unquote real world. When Elgin was being drowned in his dream, he was waking up and he had water in his lungs. So things from these dreams can be pulled out of them. So what's to say that Fatima wasn't seduced somehow in a dream, and that's where she got pregnant, and it doesn't really matter whether she can or cannot have children, because whatever happened to her was in her dream.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean,
and she's pulling out the pregnancy from within her dream.
Yes. And I think that fears and desires, emotions, actions in this place can all manifest in different ways in dream states. And, she's just getting married to Ellis. She might have this desire to have children, and that itself could have manifested into this pregnancy, but it's not going to be normal. I think it's going to be some entity like the bloodworms, the quote unquote bloodworms, that were really cicada nymphs in Boyd's body. I think it's going to be some entity. There's no way that's a normal baby.
No, not at all.
No, I agree with that. I agree with what both of you are saying, especially with the fact that she was unable to have children. So the baby's not going to be normal at all.
No, definitely.
And if it is normal, if it is a normal baby, what does that look like, guys? Like, what does this look like if it's just she was healed and she's pregnant now? What does that look like?
No, doesn't make sense to me. Not in this place. No way. And I looked back at the scene where Ellis is talking to Christy about it, and he was actually expressing the same kind of dread that Fatima was feeling when she expressed, when she, confided in Donna that she was pregnant. Fatima she had this sense of dread and said, I feel like this place is trying to torture me. And Ellis said to Christy, anywhere else in the world, I'd be thrilled. But in this place, I just keep imagining at any moment that he'll come popping out with fangs and claws. And I think they're going to have to pay off that dread that both of them experienced. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be this season. There's going to be some kind of accelerated pregnancy.
Okay,
It's
so
not going to be
there
normal.
could be the payoff could be nothing happening. The payoff could be, okay, so the dread and the stuff that they're having, I'm just giving you a little pushback.
Mhm.
The payoff could be them actually having a healthy baby, an accelerated pregnancy, but the baby's theirs and it's normal and whatnot.
It's possible.
That
Yeah.
could be like the payoff for that. Like, you think something's gonna happen wrong with this baby, but it's gonna grow faster. It's gonna be a normal baby, in a sense, normal. But at the same time, it could be like the entity trying to come through the baby or something.
Oh,
But what
yeah.
if it's just a normal baby and it's their baby and it's normal? What then? Like, that's what I'm asking. Like, what does that look like? Does it look like everybody in the town kind of like caring a little more, feeling good? Then think about this. There would be an interesting plot point to have this baby and it be an accelerated pregnancy, yet be normal. The what would make that interesting is that this baby is born in this place, and it would make you question, has there been a baby born here before and what happened to it?
Right. I mean, with all of the screwing around that they're doing at Colony House, why hasn't any... See, this is why I don't think it's normal, because why hasn't anyone else gotten pregnant in Colony House? And the one person who gets pregnant is the woman who said it was impossible. That it's just crazy to me. And I don't think that it's literally going to have fangs and claws, because that would be predictable since Ellis said it. But I think that there's going to be something abnormal about it, just not literally what he said. That's what I think. But I mean, even if it's normal, I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't add up. Like,
Well, yeah, and this is where it's at. Brings up a good point about there being no prenatal vitamins. I said that earlier. I think I said that in the Discord about the prenatal vitamins. There are no prenatal vitamins there, and that could also be why the baby's taking a toll on her body too.
yeah.
Because if you don't have those, because this is the thing, right? A lot of people think that when a woman's eating, she's eating for two, but she's only eating for one, and that's herself. Because it's not like little bits of food goes into the baby's stomach, right? The baby takes nutrients from the mother, but the mother gets those nutrients from the food. So the mother eats and she gains nutrients for herself, and then the baby absorbs nutrients, through the umbilical cord and the bloodstream and things of that nature. Also, the umbilical cord is how the baby breathes underwater inside of the mother. That's where the oxygen comes from for the baby. It comes from the umbilical cord. So the baby's gonna eat the mom regardless. The baby's going to absorb from the mother regardless if she eats her fill or not. If she gets the correct nutrients or not, the baby's gonna take that from her. And that's why women start having problems with their teeth and stuff like that when they're pregnant, because the baby is draining her. The baby is building itself. The baby is inside of inside the mother's womb, absorbing calcium and other nutrients so that it can build its bones and everything else.
Mhm.
Right.
So that's why,
Someone is
I'm
asking for your
and up.
Discord link, but I'm not a mod, so I can't post it for you.
Oh, let me see if I can post that.
I'm sorry, like out of habit, I
Oh,
went to
my
go do
Discord
that.
link. The
Yeah,
Discord
out of
link. If
habit, I
any
went
of
to
the
go do
mods have
that, and
the
I'm not a
Discord
mod
link,
here.
I just dropped the StreamYard link. If any of the mods have the Discord link, drop it on in there so we can get some more people in the Discord and we can start
Yeah,
chatting
out
over
of
there as
habit, I
well.
went to go do it, but I'm not a mod on your channel.
Let me see if I can do it.
Let me see. I know how to do it. I have it right here. Give me a hot second. It's in it's in my it's in the about section of my YouTube page, but I'm gonna put it in the chat real quick. In StreamYard, these links don't look like hyperlinks, or do they come out as hyperlinks when I post them?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, sorry, I noticed that, and I'm like, I went to go do it, and I was like, oh, I can't do it.
Okay. Well, this has been a great stream. We had Taran on. We've been rocking for how long now? What? 3 hours and some change. Uh, yeah, I think it's about time that we end this one. We'll be back Wednesday during the daytime. I'm gonna stream during the daytime on Wednesday. I'm gonna have Julie up, also Taran, because we'll be able to get Taran during the daytime. Well, it'll be evening for him, but it won't be 3 in the morning. So he'll be able to go back and forth with us. I'd like to see Julie and Taran go back and forth. Julie is someone who I like to go back and forth with about from. Um, she has some really good ideas and she thinks very logically. She has a logical standpoint on like certain aspects of the show. I could just point one out, like she said just earlier, about how no one else they've been screwing and messing around up there at Colony House, and no one else seems to have ended up pregnant.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's very significant. It just shows that does the entity stop people from getting pregnant, or was Donna stopping these pregnancies? Was Donna somehow stopping these pregnancies from happening? Because I mean, one of the crazy things that jumps out, Donna actually questions the paternity of the child at one point.
Mm.
Do you
Yeah,
guys remember that?
that's
Hmm.
right.
Donna questioned the paternity of the child when Fatima says she didn't tell Ellis, and she said, "Is it his? Is it Ellis's?" And she said, "Oh yes, it is Ellis's. I just haven't told him yet." You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So Donna, that could be a clue that the entity has impregnated her. That could definitely be a clue
Right?
because
Definitely.
Donna questioned the pregnancy, the paternity.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, like there's something not right. I mean, like I don't know. I don't think she has the Antichrist in her, but hey, anything's possible in this
That's
show.
evil, Julie. That's evil.
with all the religious references in the show. Hey,
That's the
you never
show
know.
Evil. We're dealing with that on Evil.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
so here's another
Yes.
religious reference. Here's another Christian reference. Just before we leave,
Mm.
Fatima's immaculate conception.
Mm-hmm. I was
Huh?
thinking that. Yes. Yes.
Fatima's immaculate conception.
All. Yep.
So that is
Yep.
definitely an immaculate conception. A woman that could not get pregnant that ends up getting pregnant in a place like this. What do you guys think?
Hey.
And we'll leave it like that. Just a little something to think about while we wait on the next episode.
Good night.
That's all for the live stream this evening. Good night, everybody.
Good
Peace.
night.